Welcome to this episode of Doug Has Questions. Today, my guest is Shannon McPhetres, somebody I've known for a few decades now. And she is currently the director and volunteer coordinator for Hospice of Haines. And I wanted to bring her on today to talk about hospice, having recently gone through that experience with my dad and the help that they offered him and my mom and our whole family. I want to get into that with you. But first, as we always do, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And then where did Shannon start off at? What was your young life at before you came to Haines?
Before I came to Haines, I grew up in Kenai,
Okay.
so another small town. We moved there in 1980, so most of my childhood was there.
So where,
And
where were you? Where was your family before Kenai?
my parents are both Texans.
Texans.
They are
That's a
tried and
common
true.
thing.
Yes.
There's a lot of Texans that come to Alaska.
Yes. And my mom had a dream when she was a little girl that she wanted to move to Alaska. They had 4 kids before they did it.
Yeah.
And so the more I think about it, that was a huge thing for her to take all 6 of us up here, 2 dogs and a cat in a camper.
So what were the ages of the kids when they decided we're moving to Alaska?
I was 8, and then my brother was about 6.5, and let's see, Justin would have been 2. Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. So
So you're the oldest in the family?
oldest. Yeah. I
Okay.
have 3 younger brothers. Yeah.
And so let's hop in a camper. And did they have a job already lined up in Kenai when they went there?
Actually, we spent a year in Anchorage first.
Okay.
Dad did have a job.
Mhm.
I don't think he liked it, and I don't think they liked Anchorage. So we left for the summer. We spent a summer in Billings, Montana, which was
Billings is well. So what was tough about it? I always envisioned Billings as a beautiful town.
we were outside a lot, but there were a
Yeah.
lot of snakes, and just
Yeah.
it was just uncomfortable for us. And
Okay.
so I think, and my dad
Well, and if you're in were you in the camper the whole time?
the whole time.
So 6, yeah, okay, I understand why that was a rough summer now.
Yeah, yeah. So my dad did get a job then in Kenai, and we went back, and that's where we stayed. And they're still there.
What did your dad do?
He sells and services office equipment, so
Okay.
copiers,
Yeah.
cash registers at that time,
Yep.
and then he retired about 10 years ago.
Nice.
Yeah. So he had a really great.
So what was childhood like in Kenai? Did you have a big outdoor family? Were you guys out
Well, we camped a lot.
camping?
We always camped.
Mhm.
Most weekends, and by the time we got to high school we hated it, but growing up we loved it. We spent time all over the Kenai Peninsula, and then we go up to Fairbanks, maybe a little bit, Denali once a year probably,
Okay.
but most of the time it was just on the peninsula, and we just go for the weekend.
Well, there's a lot of people that travel a long way to go camping on the peninsula, so that's
Yes.
not a bad way to grow up.
Yes, and these were really the heydays for the Kenai River, right? We fished
Yeah.
a lot.
Okay.
My dad's biggest fish was 72 pounds.
72-pound king in the Kenai. Damn.
Yeah. And that was pretty typical. I mean, maybe not that big, but big fish all the time.
Yeah.
And this was before sport fishing really got big, and before there was this battle between the commercial fishermen and the sports fishermen. So
Yeah.
it was kind of really wonderful.
The
right?
magic days of the
The
Kenai.
magic days of the
Mhm.
Kenai. Yeah. And I think Kenai was a small town. It was very much related to the oil because they refined in North Kenai. Yeah, I think it was just, I don't know, growing up was kind of idyllic, but it was also small town Alaska, right? And Doug, I think it was great. We
Yeah.
had a great childhood. We really did.
So what was it like with 3 younger brothers? Was that a handful?
Of course.
My sister says I was a handful as one
Yes,
younger
as
brother.
one
I don't know if she would want two more of me to follow along.
That's right. Yeah, I tell Emily that all the time. You only have one. I was kind of their second mom, right? My mom
Okay.
she went to work when I was in high school, maybe even late junior high. And so I kind of was there after school a lot of times for them and made dinner. So I think my mom, it kind of helped that she had an older daughter,
Yeah.
to kind of, my brothers were pretty outdoorsy and wild, and I think she appreciated that.
Having the help in the
Uh-huh.
house.
Yep, for sure.
I bet she did.
Yeah. But it was great. I They were a challenge, but I think as we got older, it got better, right? You get closer with your siblings.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
When you're not
Yeah.
fighting over who has to do what chore and things like
Exactly.
that, and for your parents' attention, a
Yeah.
lot of times that levels things out and makes it easier to. Plus, hopefully, we're all becoming more mature and
Right.
can
You do hope
understand.
that.
Well, that probably helps a little bit. That
Yeah.
you're thinking a little better than a 12 or 13-year-old might not be
Exactly.
quite as emotional.
Yeah.
That helps.
Yeah. And then the two older boys went into the military. So by the time I was in college, they were, enjoying the last days of their high school and then going into the
Okay.
military.
What branches?
Kevin went into the Navy, and then Mitch followed along 4 years later, and he went into the Marines.
Marines.
Hmm. Yeah.
How long did they serve?
Both of them served 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was, and then Kevin left and got his engineering degree, and Mitch is now fighting wildlife fires.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, he works for he works as the National Park Service, but fighting fires is a big part of it. Hmm. Yeah.
What was that like for the rest of the family when they were in the service?
Interesting. Well, my dad served too. So I think for him, that's a pride.
He had a
Yeah.
good understanding of it
He had a good
and the
understanding.
pride that they follow in his footsteps.
Yeah. Yeah. And to be honest, I don't really know Doug because I was gone already. I was already in college
But even in college, knowing your brothers are wherever they were at, knowing that they could be in danger,
yeah.
was that ever
No, because thankfully during the time they served, it was very peaceful.
Yep.
I mean, for me, it was exciting for them because they got to go overseas and do amazing adventures, right? Both of them traveled a lot while they were
Got to see some
serving.
cool places.
Yeah, got to see some really cool places.
Yeah.
So, probably a little bit of jealousy on my part, but I didn't want to go through boot camp. No, that's not me.
The free travel on the government dime wasn't worth boot camp.
No, none of that. Yeah.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's might be free travel, but you gave up a lot in order to get it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So where'd you go to college?
What was then George Fox College, now George Fox University. And I went with a desire to be a medical missionary doctor. That was since I was 8 years old, I wanted to be a doctor. And then somewhere in high school, I decided it was going to be missions.
Okay.
And I would travel the world that way.
You're still going to travel the world, but so was your family very involved with church? And then was it a religious family, or was that
not at all?
That was you on your own, had that passion? Yes.
So I, in junior high, my best friend came down from Kotzebue. She moved from Kotzebue. And I got attached to her family. We lived even close together, like our families lived maybe half a mile from each other. And I went to church with them. And that's kind of where my faith.
Kind of lit the spark in your journey in faith.
Yep. Which led me to George Fox. And so
so after that, that's when you switch from just being a doctor to you want to be a missionary doctor.
Yeah, somewhere in there. Yeah.
That?
Yeah. And I wanted to travel. I really wanted to see the world, and felt like that would be a good way to do it, right? Because you can serve anywhere as a doctor.
How much did you look into that as far as?
A lot. But I also was concerned because I had to pay for college, and I was the first person in my family to go to college. And at the time, college was expensive even then, but I didn't know how that was all going to come together. I just had faith that it would.
That you'd find the right path and the way to go.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. No doubt that it would happen. I just didn't know how. And it was hard to, get the scholarships to go to college alone. I wasn't sure how medical school was going to happen. But it turns out I didn't need to worry about that.
So where was it along that path that you switched?
Okay, so this is small town Alaska. My 8th grade year in November, there's an airplane accident. A Ryanair coming out of Homer. And so I know
that's why we have these, Shannon. It's all right.
Of the 21 passengers on board, 18 of them were from Kenai. They were teachers and dads and sons that were going to moose hunt. in Kodiak.
Kodiak, yeah.
And so they were coming back with all of their gear.
Yeah.
And the plane was too heavy. And the three that survived were the ones that fell asleep. It was a son. They fell asleep, and so they were not.
So
they were kind of leaning. They were probably leaning forward, and then
when it hit,
and all the gear came forward and killed them. Is really what happened. Yeah. So that kind of, and it was like my favorite teacher and his son. And they happened to be, friends with my brothers and played on the same baseball teams. And so this is a really big thing for Kenai.
Well, that's huge. Because how many people in Kenai?
6,000 at the time.
6,000, and you left 18 and like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And, just people that we knew, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people
that's what
we knew.
It's 6,000 people, 18 people are going to know in a small town like that. Just about everybody's going to know at least one person on there, if not multiple.
Absolutely. And because they were teachers, some of them were teachers, and their kids. Absolutely. Yeah. 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 So it was a huge tragedy. And I think that kind of started a series of them. A few months later, then there was an airplane crash in Kenai that had some fathers of, some of the men that worked on the slope. So there were maybe not, I don't remember knowing any of them, but it was just after this other airplane accident. And it was more people that were affecting.
So a lot of trauma and grief, right? One
right
after the other.
Yeah. 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 And then in high school, there were several, kids. And it's kind of like the Haines High School, everybody, right? We knew each of these people. There was a young lady that died of brain cancer.
So it was 8th grade when the crash.
When the crash happened.
Did they bring any counseling in to school? Do you remember?
I don't remember. I'm sure they did. But I also think it was the first time. Maybe not, but it felt like the first time, right? It was a long time ago. I didn't get any, right? I didn't even know that you needed that. We just kind of all, or at least my friend group, just kind of hunkered through. I don't think anybody told us what grief was. And if they had...
Well, and that's... The reason I'm asking that is because as you're talking about that, growing up in Haines, with the number of people that in a plane crash, an automobile accident, whatever, some of them are a year ahead of you. Some of it involves a teacher's family. And we just kind of... This happened, and you just kind of move on to the next thing. And it wasn't anything like you're saying. I don't remember anybody saying this is how you deal with grief. This is how we deal with it. It's just you go to school the next day.
Yeah.
You just go back to school. And there was sometimes, that I remember the one that a bunch of kids went and they had a kind of their own thing down at Plinkett Park or whatever.
Yeah.
But we're told, no, you need to be in school. You need to be in school.
Yep.
And it's...
Well, maybe in part too, because our parents don't know how to grieve.
Well, that's what I was getting to.
Teachers don't know how to grieve.
Nobody,
right?
And we're getting older, but we're not that old that it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it was...
Yeah. So
when I do the math, it was a long time ago,
but in the scheme of things.
But in the same vein, it wasn't. And so just seeing that change since then to now, and how that's like with the slide, the number of counselors they had coming into the school and into the community and helping with that grief and that loss and that trauma compared to the times before.
Yeah.
Where there was nothing.
Yeah. What I'm hearing you say is that we grew up in a time when we didn't talk about it.
No.
We didn't name it. We didn't. Yep. Yeah.
And I think that's
common.
Very common. And I think some of the things that I struggle with, I don't know if other people do, but I know from my own experience, is going through numerous traumatic incidents and never really having a conversation about it, just moving on to the you got woken up at 5 o'clock in the morning by the dog. Your sister woke you up because the dog woke her up and your house is on fire, and now we don't have a place to live. But we got a place, and so you just go to school the next day, and you just keep going on, and
Yeah.
different things. You one of your teachers, their spouse dies in a plane crash, and
Hmm.
you just go on.
Hmm.
Somebody same age dies in a car accident.
Yeah.
You never you never talked about it. You never got through that.
Yep. Except I think that by the time there's a series of things that happen, again, we had a close high school.
Hmm.
Kenai, my freshman year, Kenai split. So we went from 800 kids to 400. Nikiski opened a school.
Okay.
So now we've got a smaller school.
Uh-huh.
And this is happening just right after that. First the Ryanair accident and then the other plane accident. And so we now have, however many, we had a high school of 400.
Hmm.
So, lots of teachers.
You know everybody even
Yeah,
closer.
but we're knowing everybody closer.
Uh-huh.
And now there's a lot more going on. Now one of my dearest friends had another relapse he had leukemia as a kid. He relapses. So he's going through cancer treatment. But now there's teachers. So now we're dealing with an illness, which is a whole different ballgame,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
But we're talking about it. And I think that it started there, right? Talking about how do we deal with this illness.
So the teachers were bringing it up?
The teachers, the class, right? Because now we've suffered through a couple of tragedies and we know we need to talk. Did we do it well? Probably not. But did we do it? Yes.
I guess, isn't that the main thing, is just to have the conversation?
Yes. And to not feel afraid to be able to say to your teacher, hey, this is not my greatest day, or to cry. I mean, when I think of high school, I know this is crazy, but we cried a lot. And I think we had a lot to cry about, but it was okay. By the time I got to high school, it was okay to do that. Okay. Yeah, which is way different than I think what may have happened here or in other places.
But I know it's evolved, and
Yep.
And I don't know when it started evolving.
Mhm.
Once you're out of school, unless you have kids, you're not really paying attention to what's
Right.
going on. And
Yeah.
so I know it's evolved over time to what I think there's very good protocols and support over in the school system now. And and I know there's things that I struggle with because of that. At the same time, I know it also built up a tremendous amount of strength and resiliency in me.
Yes.
The way that we handled it at the time.
Yeah.
Was it perfect? No.
Yeah.
But it's probably not perfect today either.
Yeah.
But I know it did build a lot of strength and resiliency at the same time. Anytime you're going through tough times, I think it does that. Yeah. However, you get to the end of it, and you're.
Well, you hope so. That's the goal,
you hope
right?
to be stronger at the end of it.
Yeah.
And it's easier to be stronger at the end of it if you have help.
And yep.
And you're willing to be vulnerable with your friends and family and the people who are going through it with you.
Yeah. And I think that's what Kenai as a community did. We got vulnerable. We knew we had to. Yeah. Right? There were struggling kids. There were, things going on.
So that's kind of when it planted in your mind.
Because all of these things happened. My best friend, this dear friend that had leukemia, came to our high school graduation. We made all kinds of arrangements. He just had a bone marrow transplant at Children's in Seattle, and he was able to come home for graduation. So that was, kind of a highlight. I left for George Fox that first year, probably mid-August, and he died August 17th after that very long battle. So I was going into college with a huge loss. Yeah. And what was really funny is we had chapel, of course, at George Fox. Mm-hmm. The first chapel, which is within days of me being there, a professor stood up. And this professor, Willie Montgomery, had cancer. He was going through cancer treatment. And I just remember being in that chapel, rolling my eyes and saying, I God, I cannot do it. I'm not taking a class from him.
I
I'm not going to
I
get to
can't
know
do
him. I am not going to have anything to do with him, because if something happens,
Yeah.
it's going to be devastating. Well, Doug, what do you think happened?
Your next class was with him, wasn't it?
My second
Did he be,
semester, yeah.
did he become like your mentor through George Fox?
Yeah, and I ended up being the babysitter for a while, his family's babysitter for a while. But he also, and that's the way it kind of worked, right? Just all these things lined up. I had two great professors. One was Dr. Allen, and one was this gentleman, Willie Montgomery, who turned the path. Because in my heart, all that I knew is that I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be involved in medicine. And then you go, that's how college works, right? You go and you find out all these other things. There's this thing called social work. There's actually medical social work. And you get to be with people, and you get to, help people in their medical journeys. I was like, I didn't know this existed. We don't have these. I mean, Alaska's pretty small. We didn't know all about that. So I did end up in a class that we just called him Willie. Willie taught. And he happened to be working at an organization, McMinnville, Oregon, that was a home health agency. And they had a hospice component to it. And right away, my freshman year, he approached and said, I think that you would do really well in hospice.
Really?
I had no idea what that was. And then kind of learned it was working with dying people. I'm like, no.
Yeah. Peace out on this one.
I'm done. It's not going to happen.
What did I do to you? Where are you?
Yeah, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to do it. Well, of course I did, because he asked. And I don't say no well. And I fell in love with it, right? It was everything good about what for me had been tragic. All those deaths had been very, very tragic. But hospice allowed me to see death in a new light, if that makes sense.
It does, and I think it's with different people we've talked about God kind of guiding their life, and how he puts them in situations, and as you're telling this, I can see you saying, God, I don't want to be involved with this guy, but he's the one that, because it sounds like he survived his cancer.
He did not in the end, but
for how long?
For a couple of years.
For a couple of years. So you had that positive influence with this person. So you're seeing that you can survive with cancer. You can still thrive. You can still do things. And also he's the one that gives you the nudge into this hospice.
Yeah.
That you're seeing death in a whole new way now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I got to see it from a medical model is different than what we have here. But I got to see it from the social worker's perspective, from the chaplain's perspective, from the nurse's perspective. Even, there was a doctor involved with that one.
Okay.
So seeing that, seeing everybody's role that they play, was enlightening and also fascinating, because you get a different perspective. If you're the chaplain, you're working with families, their spiritual being as part, of who we are. You're seeing that in a whole different way than if you're their social worker and you're trying to get them some of the services that they need. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Everybody's got a different role. They're all critical.
Because we're dealing with the whole person.
Yep.
Right? Not just your physical being, but all of you. Your emotional, your mental, your spiritual, and your families too. Yeah. And so I was so thankful for that opportunity to do that. I think I did it for over 1.5 years, which was unusual for.
So he introduces that to you in your freshman year.
My sophomore year. So I did 1.5 years.
So
internship.
Was this a really quick change that I don't want to be a missionary doctor anymore? Or were you still thinking you were going to go down, still going down that road? When did you make the change that might not be the best thing
after
for
a cultural anthropology class, which I also loved and thought, wow,
yeah,
that would be really fun to study people too, but that didn't fit in. yeah, I just chose probably my sophomore year to do the social work path.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to break it to my parents.
That was gonna be my next question. How did your parents deal with mom and dad?
Hmm.
I'm gonna be a doctor. Nope,
Hmm.
I'm gonna be a social worker.
Yeah.
Nothing against social workers.
No, but it's a big change.
Big change.
Hmm. Well, I know my dad cried, but they adjusted quickly because they knew that I didn't go into it blindly, right? I had,
Yeah.
even though that had been my dream and my plan, and I was very stubborn about obtaining it, I also didn't leave it without thought. And
I'm guessing they had an inkling that this was coming. Because I would I would bet that
yeah,
in your conversations with mom and dad, you're talking about these different classes,
yeah,
different things you're doing,
hmm,
and most parents are very astute to what's exciting their kids, what
yeah,
makes them really tick.
yeah,
And they're probably like, okay,
yeah. Something's gonna change.
something's going to change.
Uh-huh.
They might not have verbalized it or anything like that, but in the back of their minds,
Yeah.
when you're like, yeah, I'm changing, they're probably, yeah, they probably figured that this was coming.
Yeah, yeah. But I think they were also a little scared. My parents also come from a generation where you don't talk about death.
Yeah.
You don't even want to think about it because thinking about it or talking about it might bring it about, right? There's a
Hmm.
great book called Talking About Death Won't Make It Happen. And I think that that's a title of a book that draws you because in the back of our mind, maybe we've all had that thought, right? If we talk about death, if we,
Well, and also I think when we talk about it with about loved ones and everything,
yeah,
that it's you need to be planning, you need to be doing things, but at the same time, it's not like, yeah, you don't want to offend them like you're
yeah,
thinking they're going to die soon.
right.
It's like you don't know. It could be an accident really soon. Could be something. But to have that conversation so everybody's prepared to do what they want and to follow the plan that they've set out, right?
It's hard to do
It's very hard to.
for almost everybody, probably.
It sucks.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
If somebody's good at it, I'd like to talk to them because it's not a fun process.
No, absolutely not. And I think it's a process that takes years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, especially with our parents, right? That it's something that it doesn't happen in a day. You
Nope.
can't just sit down for a 2-hour session and have everything planned out because it's hard. It's hard for them, whoever you're talking to, your parents, your friends. It's hard for them to think about it. It's hard for you to talk about it because you don't want to hurt their feelings. You don't want to.
Like you said, you don't want it to happen either.
Yes,
And then there's kind of that mental
it
block that if we
does.
don't talk about it, it won't happen.
Mhm.
That's never worked.
Obviously. Yeah, yeah. It doesn't. Yeah. Yeah. So they were, my parents were a little bit disappointed I didn't do the doctor route, but I think they were also happy that I did find something.
Well, it's you're still serving people. It's just serving them in a
Absolutely.
different way.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And I tried a few different other things. I worked with kids. I've done other things, but it always seems to come back to hospice.
So how did that change? If you're kind of making this switch in your head, your sophomore year,
Mm-hmm.
like going on a different track, how did that change the classes you were taking? Where if you're looking towards hospice, are there specific classes that you were taking, or is it more of just a social work?
It was just a social work.
Of it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I did do some gerontology classes. I did work at some other places, but my focus was not hospice. It was just social work.
Okay.
So I could have gone sociology, social work. I could have, I could have gone a lot of different paths. I think most people who end up getting a social work degree eventually get a master's, and then they can do, either counseling on their own or, have that, master's to work in a private practice. Maybe I think there are a lot of different ways you could do it.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, hospice always came back to that, right?
So when you graduate college,
Mm-hmm.
are you looking for a job in hospice?
Not at all.
What was the post? You've
Yeah.
gotten your degree.
Well, actually, I hadn't quite gotten my
Hadn't got
degree.
degree?
It was my senior year. It was probably around spring break when I started to panic do I go back to Alaska? Oregon's great. Do I stay in Oregon? And I went to visit the counseling, like the career counselors at George Fox.
Yeah.
And they had this, I'm sure like all colleges had this great book of all of these summer opportunities. I thought, well, let's start with the summer.
I know I was one of those that never went to the counselor's office.
Well, this was
No,
probably my only.
probably to my own detriment.
Yeah, right.
Like they don't know me. What am I going to be able to tell me?
Well, I thought they might have at least something.
I'm glad
to get
somebody
me through.
went there.
And they had a book. And in this book, as I'm flipping through, it's very vivid. They're like job descriptions, right?
Mhm.
Or job opportunities. There's this one picture. It's a 3x5 picture, and it's in color, so probably it was the actual picture. And I don't know if you've seen it. It's the Summer Inn ad, or what used to be the Summer Inn, right? And all it had was their sign, but you could see the Chilcats behind it, and they had little poppies, right? So sign, poppies, and the Chilcat Mountains. And nothing was clearer to me than at that moment I stopped looking and I said, this is it.
This is where I need to go.
This is where I need to go. It was to run a bed and breakfast, right? Which seemed kind of crazy, but I called the couple, Bob and Mary Ellen Summer, and lo and behold, he was my brother's teacher.
Seriously.
They had moved to Soldotna shortly after I left, and he had taught 2 of my 3 brothers, and Mitch was even in a rope climbing class with him or something like that. And so they knew me, I knew of them, and I was the first Alaskan that they hired. And so I came here in June of, 1995?
95?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was something for people that aren't familiar with the Summer Inn. That was how they ran that, is they would have a young lady out of college or taking a break from college come up and run it. It was like a full year, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah, you signed on for a year.
For a year.
Yep, yep. And
the Summer Inn.
Yep, they advertised at the Christian Consortium schools. And I'm pretty sure that's where most of us came from. I was probably, I might have been like the 3rd person here.
Yeah.
Everybody else had already had just stayed for a year. And that's how I came to Haines. And I feel like that.
So 95.
Yeah, 95.
So did you graduated?
I graduated.
Graduated, you got your degree. And with your degree, you're going to run a bed and breakfast.
But when you think about it, I mean, it really does use those social skills. I mean, it's people skills.
But it's also a good segue between all the stress and everything of college. Let's come up here. There's going to be stress in that, but fairly low key as well. And just kind of get your feet under before you go on this thing.
At the time that I went to college, you went home every summer. And you worked all summer. You raised money for your next year of college. And you did that. And then it was kind of, a lot of people just went home because it was natural. And I felt like I was making a huge change.
Yeah, you could go home.
No, and Haines from Kenai is really further than Oregon from Kenai, right? I mean, it's a long drive.
Harder to get here.
I don't remember many people coming to the Southeast when I was growing up. It wasn't a thing. We didn't make a 16-hour drive to come, right? The only time people came through Haines is when they were moving to Alaska or coming in and out. So I felt like this was a huge thing, to be far away from home, but also in Alaska. Right? Yeah. So that was the first summer. And do you remember what happened that summer of 95? The airplane accident on Pyramid Island.
Oh, was that 95? All of those just blend in.
Right?
It seems like there's a couple
Alaska.
There's a couple
tragedy all
there's a couple events that I could tell you the year that they happened. But a lot of the plane crashes and everything I could never tell you what year they are because there's been too many of them. Right.
I mean, that's true. I think it's true for...
There's been too many. So that Pyramid Island crash was 95.
And I had some family that
Yeah.
were somehow involved, staying with us or staying with, me at the summer inn. Yeah, it was just really weird. And then, of course, LAB had a little house
Right down the road. They had the
yeah.
swamp.
Yep, the swamp.
Uh-huh.
Yep, yep. So we had that fall, I got to know a couple of pilots who were connected to that death.
Okay.
And in the preceding years, got to know Pat Welch really well.
Mm-hmm.
And he was best friends with Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing that social work part of it, not hospice in the sense of hospice, but being with people who were grieving and needing to grieve. And I am no expert, not any at all, as you can tell. I'm quick to tear.
But
that's
wait.
that's part of it. You're going to call me on it.
I'm going to call you on that because just because you're quick to tear doesn't mean you're not good at your job.
Well, it's not that I'm not good at my job.
Or you're an expert.
I'm not an expert on grieving, right? But I grieve all the time.
Why wouldn't you say you're an expert on grieving? What makes somebody more of an expert than anybody, one person or another?
Great question.
Just because you have that emotion and you let it out through tears.
Yeah.
I don't see how that disqualifies you from being an expert
Well,
in grieving, Shannon.
Oh, I know, but I'm not an expert, Doug. I mean, because I don't know that there is anybody who can be an expert, right? Because every death is different.
Yes.
Every grief is different.
Yes.
There's a great exercise that Liz Morantz does with us. It's called the life map, right? And you map out your losses, because loss is not just a death.
No.
Sometimes, it's a divorce or a job or a friendship, or there's lots of loss, right? But as we map our losses, I feel like I've done really well at dealing with some of them and actually grieving, taking the time to work through it and to be sad. And I think others have done a terrible job at.
Well, isn't that life?
Absolutely. Right. I'm glad you say that. It's true.
Even, the best hitters in the major leagues, there hasn't been anybody since Ted Williams that hit over 40% of the
oh wow
at their at bat. He was the last 400 hitter in the major leagues. You got guys that are getting paid tens of millions of dollars a year,
and they're not
like 350, 320 batting average. Yeah, they hit some home runs and stuff, but so I don't think you have to be perfect in order to be successful or to know the material. Yeah. And we can argue all day whether you're an expert, but I don't want you to sell yourself short because you have a lot more knowledge than most. And what I was taking out of that is it felt like you're lowering your own self-standards just because of the tears. And I think that's a show, a show of empathy and vulnerability. And I think that's a strength rather than takes away your ability to deal with grief. Yeah. That's what I wanted to push back on.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And that is true. And I feel like we have to cry. That's a release. It
is, but it sucks.
Only because society tells us it sucks.
No, it sucks. I don't care what society tells me. It's hard.
Yeah. It's work.
It's work. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard work.
Both the grief and the tears.
And the emotion and everything. And now I'm tearing up. You got me tearing up here. But it takes a lot out of you.
It does. It really is work.
Sometimes I don't know which is more work, the burying it or dealing with it. Because both take a ton of energy. At least for me. I don't know. Maybe I'm doing both of them wrong, but both of them take a ton of energy.
But don't you feel like when you can cry or feel, whether that looks like, sometimes it looks like anger, right? Sometimes our grief is anger or regret or loss, just that deep sense of sorrow. And when we let ourselves go through it, it hurts, right? Sometimes we get headaches or stomach aches. We have physical responses.
All of the above.
Yes. And then for me, it feels like there's a step. I've made a step. I might have 10 steps backwards in the coming weeks, but at least I've made a step forward, right? Because I'm able to get some of it out. When we bottle it up,
I guess I'm looking at, I don't know. 'Cause I guess I never feel like there's that step forward.
Mm.
Maybe it is a step forward and I'm just not recognizing it as
Yeah.
such.
Yeah. 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 Or it's 10 steps back for another few steps forward. And it goes, I mean, I've seen all kinds of maps, the ones that squiggle up and down, the ones that look like cliffs and then mountains, all of those. Those are all journeys, tangles, right? It looks different. And I don't think not feeling a step forward is okay. Because there may be a day when you say, oh, I'm like 10 steps forward, right? That you didn't even know.
Because I think there's other things that I will acknowledge that it's step forwards and how I'm dealing with other people and
Yeah.
interact. But I guess I've never thought of it that way with the grief component of it, or just how that, because it always seems like it's still there.
Well,
It's
and it's
always
still
there.
fresh.
Well, this is
Yeah. Oh, for some other, yeah.
this isn't just dad passing away. This is
Others.
all the others that, and some of it's probably because it wasn't addressed at the
Yep.
time. It
Yep.
wasn't dealt with at the time, and so I don't know. Does it take longer when it's
Yes,
30 years before you deal with it?
it could. We get that phrase complicated grief. I think they're moving out of using that phrase because grief is complicated.
Yeah.
But yes, Doug, I would say absolutely. And every time there's a death, and I know this from my own self, every time there's a death, if there's an airplane accident, I don't know why, but that's a tough one for me. It's a real tough one. And so I think that,
Well, the number of people that it doesn't surprise me that would be a tough one.
yes. Yeah. Well, but then too, because you also, muscle memory in
Mm-hmm.
sports is a
Mm-hmm.
real thing, right? We know that.
Yep.
It's also a real thing for our emotions.
Okay.
So for me, it's an airplane accident or, a cancer death. Those are what we call triggers, right? Um, but it brings back the deaths that have happened before that maybe we didn't deal with completely, or maybe we did and we just didn't finish, or maybe those are just so in our bodies that we're never going to be completely healed from that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
We have better counseling. We have better ways of dealing with grief and trauma. It's still grief and trauma. And some people will get the help.
That's what I was just going to say.
Mm-hmm.
It's only help if they use the service.
Yeah.
And so as we're talking about this, I've also been reading a lot recently and listening to people with their own personal using some of the psychedelics to under doctor supervision and stuff. God, crap, I can't remember the name of them, but
like ketamine? You mean
no? Like ayahuasca.
Oh,
and some,
okay.
There's a couple others. I can't remember what they were, but that they've been extremely helpful dealing with some of the brain trauma, the PTSD from veterans, especially.
Yeah.
That they've been able. It's not available in the United States. They've got to go to Mexico, or they got to go to other countries to do it. But it's been extremely helpful for them going through that process, and so it's hopefully they'll keep making progress in that and figure out ways that we can heal some of this trauma that we as humans inflict on each other.
Right. There's not enough. I mean, I feel like there's enough that we don't have to do that.
There's enough natural trauma, but
yes.
we do a really good job in many ways of inflicting trauma on those around us.
Yep.
As well. That.
Yeah.
Okay, let's back off of that for a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're back in Haines. Your first year with the summer in.
Yeah.
We need to go back to a lighter topic for a little bit.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm going to be a puddle of tears here for a long time. So we'll break it up so I'm not a total mess here.
Okay.
What was that other? We had the plane crash.
The plane crash.
But the rest of it for running in.
I loved it. It was so cool. Right. That was. I mean, bed and breakfasts aren't a thing anymore. But it was really fun to get to meet people from all over the world. And, I had breakfast with them, but then we'd have conversations, and in the evening they would, like, I lived on
Yeah, you were.
site, so
Yep.
it was my home as well as theirs. It was great to meet people, and I met Barb Blood the second day I was here, and she, at the library, because even then we had a great library. We always had a great library. Um, I got to know a lot of people in town. I loved living
So
there.
how did you build that friendship circle up? Just, I mean, you meet Barb at the library, but how did,
Hmm.
as a newcomer to Haines, how did you start building that friendship circle?
Well, I just walked everywhere. Like, I walked to the post office every day. I walked to the grocery store every day. I don't know, all kinds of people I met. Um, and part of it was just being in town, and then I started working at the school. I had enough time in the fall that I was at lunch aid.
Okay.
So I worked with Janice Studley and Rose. There were a couple other people. Yeah. And so I got to know people through the school, their kids. I
Hmm.
mean, that's a great way to know people, is through their kids. Um, yeah. And I felt like I had a real connection to the community. So I don't even remember when they asked, but they always, the summers would say, okay, do you want to stay on? And I immediately said yes,
Really?
for another year.
Right away.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I
So
was here for two
you're the
years.
first one here for 2 years, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was the second year just making more friendships?
Yeah,
What was
I
the?
think so. And I had a great group of friends. At the time, the farm had a college. There were a lot of young people in town.
Hmm.
I don't know if that's the case anymore, but we had little groups that would get together and do dinners, and um, I didn't have. We laugh about this. I was making. I mean, I was
Mhm.
probably the poorest I ever was. But that didn't matter because you always had top ramen. And my mom would send me smoked salmon. So,
Well,
there was
you were living
plenty.
large. I mean, you
Yeah,
got smoked salmon and forget about the rest of it.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
good.
Yep. So, yeah, we just got together and make dinner. All of us were in kind of that same situation.
Hmm.
Um, Susan was here at that time. We'd have dinners a couple times a week. Yeah. So it was a really great, I love those years. And then I knew that I know what it was. I now remember why I left. I started dating a pilot, which was probably not my smartest move. But again, that all kind of comes full
Is
circle.
this a negative against pilots, or is it
I
because
just
of the trauma?
knew.
Is that why that was a bad
Well, I
move?
just knew that. Yeah, it was probably yeah. Anyway, let's edit that out.
Leave it in, Sam. We got her husband, so I will have no control over the edit of this one. Sam always does that, but I
Yeah.
have a feeling Shannon's going to be looking over her shoulder on this one. So
Yeah, right?
the
Don't take that
multi-hour could
out.
be a 15-minute video when it comes out.
Take that part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, that's why I left. My time was up. I moved to Ohio.
With the pilot,
I followed the pilot,
follow the pilot.
but I
Yeah.
taught preschool, did my own thing.
Okay. Yeah.
And then
Where in Ohio?
Hamilton,
That's a big change from
huge.
Alaska to Ohio.
Yeah, it was huge.
Ah.
But I mean, I lived in Oregon, so it wasn't like I'd never lived outside of
No,
Alaska. But
but Ohio's
this was, yeah,
Ohio's different than Oregon.
way different.
Ah.
Way different. It was
That
hot.
was a big leap,
It was a huge.
right? That was
It was
the crazy
huge.
things we do for love. Huh?
I know, but I mean, I also think it was really great. Again,
Uh-huh.
I mean, I kind of tend to, I feel like I bloom where I'm planted,
Mm-hmm.
and I made great friends. In fact, I worked at this preschool where there was an elderly lady there. She and I became pen pals, and we wrote each other Christmases for probably almost 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
when she passed away, her kids wrote me and told me about
Yeah.
it. But just developed really good friends even in the midst of that. And I get to see a different part of the world. I mean,
Yeah.
Ohio is,
Ohio's different
it's,
part.
oh yeah, yeah.
Parts I've been are beautiful, but
hmm
it's different.
It's very different. Farmland.
Farmland. Yeah.
Yeah, which was great.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's a lot of benefit to that. And it was fun to do preschool.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was for me also something I would refer back to when it came to our own kids.
Okay.
Right? Being a teacher is
Mm-hmm.
its own social work. Don't tell them, but it is.
Oh.
Yeah.
So how long were you in Ohio?
9 months.
9 months?
Just long enough for the school year. And then I said, that's it for me.
That's it?
So I went back.
Was the relationship over, or was
No.
the relationship still going, but you didn't want to be in
Yeah,
Ohio
I didn't want to
anymore?
be in Ohio anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And oddly enough, I did still follow that pilot all the way up to Kotzebue.
So he got a job in Kotzebue?
He got a job in Kotzebue. I followed, but it didn't, at some point that didn't work out. And I stayed in Kotzebue for 3 years. And
What
those
were you
were,
doing in Kotzebue?
first I was a health educator for Manilic Association. And then I ran the Boys and Girls Club for a while.
Yeah.
And then I went back to run the health education department for Manilic again. Because that's what I really loved. It comes back to medicine and social work and that. And kind of teaching too. Those all kind of wrapped into one.
What was it like living in Kotzebue?
I loved it.
Did you?
Loved it. I don't know if I could do it now.
What was the best part for you?
The people,
Yeah.
of course, right? I got involved with a great church. I was traveling to all the villages. There's 12 villages in the Nana region. I went to every single one of them multiple times a year.
Most of that by plane?
On a tiny plane.
That's what I was going to say. So you're being forced to get outside your comfort zone with this plane thing, aren't you?
I am.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of prayer for me. It was really hard. But at the same time, I didn't think twice. Well, that's not true. I did think twice, but I didn't not do it. Right? And some of my best experiences were on the plane. Like, I will never, ever forget the caribou herd from Shungnak and Ambler, right? And watching
flying over and watching
over it. I mean, that was the most. I would have loved to have been on the ground, but the next best thing was being in the air and seeing that.
Yeah.
Kotzebue is beautiful and not so beautiful, right? The tundra in the fall, most beautiful thing ever, really. The people are wonderful, friendly, kind for the most part. Village life is hard. And I found I was kind of into that vegetarian world. And Kotzebue and vegetarian don't really go.
Was that a hard thing to manage in Kotzebue?
It really was. I don't remember what the price was, but like lettuce was out of this world, right? Fruits and vegetables. And they came in by plane, so they actually probably got them sooner than we do here.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
flown in, it was fresher than ours.
Yeah, but it wasn't a priority. Like that wasn't, the grocery store's fruits and vegetables wasn't really a priority to carry. So I don't think I'd been there long before I started a co-op. I don't even know what gave me that idea, but I knew that I wanted fresh stuff. And so surely others did.
So, hang on a second before we go too far into this co-op.
Yeah.
When did you? Were you always a vegetarian
No.
growing up? When did you start being a vegetarian? That's what I was going to say. When did this vegetarian thing come?
I think after I left here.
Okay. Kind of started in Ohio.
It kind of started in Ohio,
and it was in Ohio that makes you want to be a vegetarian.
Well, I mean, think about it, Doug. They don't have Alaskan fish or.
No, but they should have some pretty good beef. It's fresh right there, right?
They might.
So you didn't have. So you're Alaskatarian. You like the caribou, the moose, or whatever, the fish.
I did. Yep.
Then when you lost that, it's like we need some plants.
Yeah. Plus, I'd been to Ukraine. In '94. I know I skipped that over.
Ukraine.
Yeah.
That's kind of a big piece here that we missed.
It is.
We'll go back to that. So
okay.
I'll remember to go back to Ukraine.
Okay.
So you started developing a vegetarian lifestyle in Ohio. So then you're going to Kotzebue. That makes it extremely difficult to live a vegetarian lifestyle.
It does.
And so a co-op.
Started a co-op.
So you're flying this stuff in yourself?
And at first, yeah, I guess I did start. There was only a couple people, but by the end of it, I think there were at least 50 of us.
Okay.
Right, because remember, Kotzebue is one of those places where a lot of people come from outside
Mm-hmm.
to work,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the hospitals and the
Yep.
schools. So there were probably 50 of us at the end. And by cope, I mean like pallets, like maybe 5 or 6 pallets were coming in
How often?
once a month.
Once a month? Your core. So you got your job,
Uh-huh.
and then you got 5 to 6 pallets of.
Mhm.
It's all coming in at once, or is it coming in like
Oh, no,
weekly?
once. It would come in once a month. Is that right?
Are they're
Probably once
flying
a
it in,
month.
right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you
They
got
flew
there.
in.
Alaska Airlines brings a jet in,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
Shannon, we got 6
So,
pallets.
yep, they would bring it to the church. There's this big room in the church, and I would work with. There were others of us that would get together, and we'd separate all the orders, and then people would come and pick up their orders.
I'm
And
just 50 people, 5 to 6 pallets. That's a lot of produce per person.
I know.
That's
Yeah.
a lot of stinking produce.
Oh yeah, yeah.
How'd you get that stuff to last for a month though? That's
I don't know. I mean,
because there's stuff that shows up nasty
well,
after a
it's not just
week on the
produce.
porch.
I mean, by that time we were doing staples too. So
Okay.
it was much. Yeah. So
Okay.
we kind of had a grocery store.
You had your own little groceries.
Yeah. Health food store,
Okay.
basically. Yeah. And it's still going today.
Still going today?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
job.
Well, it's just, it's easy.
Yeah.
Those kind of things.
30-year business started by Shannon.
Well, I don't know. It wasn't really a business. Made nothing.
It doesn't.
I think we go back to that nonprofit thing.
It's still a business.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of businesses that don't make any money, Shannon.
Oh, because that one didn't.
Just
That was just a service. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was fun. I mean, Kotzebue, all the things about it were fun. We did health fairs at every village. I was either known as, depends on what I was doing. Like when I would come in the fall and do germs, hand washing, I was known as the germ lady, Miss Germ Lady, or
Mm-hmm.
I did nutrition classes. I ended up teaching sex education at some point, so all the health education department at Manilic handled health for all of the schools.
All the schools.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It was really fun.
Yeah.
Really fun. Yeah. So
Yep.
much fun that when I came here, some wonderful person wrote a grant for me to do that here for a year. Mm-hmm.
So after 3 years in Kotzebue,
Mm-hmm.
was it now coming back to Haines, or
Mm-hmm.
what got you coming to Haines? This happened to be the guy on the other side of the cameras
Well,
here.
yes, but interestingly enough, it wasn't him to begin with.
Yeah.
We joke, but we're not really joking about it, that we're an arranged marriage.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it kind of leaped.
I've heard this story before, but I don't think everybody else has. So let's get the Sam and Shannon story on tape. You can't cut any of this out, Sam. It's all got to come out of here.
So from my perspective, how it worked is I came back.
Is there another perspective other than yours?
Oh, there should be.
I would think. Well, I would guess yours is the correct one, right, Shannon? Maybe.
Maybe so.
We'll see how Sam reacts as you go along with this.
Well, I'm trying to think of where to even start. So while I was the summer innkeeper, I had lots of people come and stay.
Mm-hmm.
One of those persons was this wonderful person, Geneva Vollum, who happened to be Sam's grandmother. And she and her friend Martha came to stay for I felt like 2 weeks, but I don't remember how long. And she told me all about her grandson, Sam. And I just nodded. So great.
Grandmothers are good about that.
Grandmothers are really great about that, right? And I didn't think anything about it. Maybe a year later, I went to Juneau and happened to stay with Sam's family because they had a home where lots of Haines people would come and stay with them. And I happened to be there with some of their friends. And one evening, Sam's mom was talking to Sam in the computer. She had an office. She was talking to him on the computer, telling him that they had somebody here at their house who he should probably meet. And he's like, well, I'm nowhere near there. You think he's a long ways away. And meanwhile, his dad was on the couch telling me about how wonderful Sam was, and I really should meet him. And I,
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Really nice.
So at this point, you're kind of like, what is wrong with this guy that everybody is so, is he this amazing, or is there a flaw that everybody's just trying to sell him really hard?
No, right? No, I didn't think, I mean, because when you're a single person in Haines in the 90s, everybody was trying to set you up with somebody, right? You don't remember that part?
I don't remember that part.
Yeah.
I was hoping somebody would try and set me up. That never happened.
It didn't, Doug. Oh,
There's probably been a couple attempts, but I didn't think they were serious.
Yes, and neither did I really at the time.
Yeah.
But I then worked with Rose Benham and Janice Studley at the school while I was here, and they convinced Sam to contact me after I'd been here for a visit, and he wasn't here. So he did.
So was he was back teaching?
He was teaching.
Here.
It's kind of like we left. I left.
Say you
on the
kind of
theory
left
that
when he was coming in on, yeah.
Yeah. So we never.
So you'd come back for a visit, and he was gone, so you didn't meet then.
And eventually, those ladies broke Sam down, and he contacted me in Kotzebue, of all places.
Yeah.
I get an email. I don't know what they said about me, but none of it's true. So I feel like we at least knew people. Like I could ask people about, I mean, I'd heard about his parents. I'd met his parents. I knew who he was. So it wasn't entirely, but it kind of was. And we started writing back and forth. And of course, I was working with a group of women who they thought this was the coolest thing ever, that people could actually have a beginning part of the relationship. It wasn't quite writing letters, but it was, right? It was typing letters. So they'd hear the little ding on the computer. What'd he say?
Was that Sam? Was that Sam?
So they helped in that process. And then Sam came to visit me in Kotzebue on spring break when I believe it was like 40 below. Yeah, it was really...
That's impressive. Most people go south there in spring break. To go up to 40 below.
Yeah.
Those must have been some nice emails you wrote.
You
must have done a heck of a job on this.
And we're older. We didn't, it was a different ballgame for us. At least I felt like it was. It wasn't, we'd both had our, those silly things that you do when you're young, and we'd done all that, or done at least some of that. Yeah. And it was different. He was pretty serious to come to Kotzebue.
That's some commitment there.
Right? Yeah. And I had high school friends who took him on on their ATV for a ride, and he had a strip of skin, get a little frostbite because his coat and gloves didn't match up, but he had I think a great time. Kotzebue really showed itself beautiful that week, and so
the ladies that were impressed with your
of course they were so excited. Yeah. Super sweet.
Shannon's leaving. Start posting the job.
Yep. I think they do. Yeah. And I really feel like 3 years in Kotzebue, for most people, is a really, I felt like I had done a long stint there.
Yep.
And I loved every second of it, really. And I think the hardest parts were the weather, and that it's also small town Alaska, right? Right? Those things that make it hard here or anywhere made it hard there. My dad came and visited me, but everybody else was afraid to. My brothers didn't come. My mom didn't come. They were a little afraid to.
You got a brother who's a Marine. He was afraid to go to Kotzebue?
Well, it wasn't in their wish list, really. But I think everybody should go to Kotzebue. I think everybody should see northern Alaska because it's beautiful.
I haven't been to Kotzebue, but I've been north of the Brooks Range, and it is amazing.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Amazing, totally different kind of beauty than we have here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is.
Beautiful spot.
Mm-hmm. And it takes a strong person to be there, I think. Mm-hmm. I think that you're pretty resilient, to use that word earlier. I like that word.
So what was your plan? So you're coming to Haines, hopefully to develop a relationship with Sam.
Mm-hmm. What else?
That was it? That was the game plan?
Kind of,
really. See what happens?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, I wasn't afraid to do that. Now that I'm saying it
That's
to you out loud, it's really embarrassing.
well, why? It just for me it shows a
No.
strength
Well,
that
yes,
you have
but
that faith that uh, I'm gonna make I'm gonna make something work.
yeah,
And you did everywhere you went. You've
hmm
made something work.
that's true.
You know, at the summer end, you might not have been making the most money or whatever. You made some great friends.
Absolutely.
You had some wonderful experiences here. And
Yeah.
each place that you've talked about,
hmm
you've kind of been like, well, I just kind of went here, and
Yeah.
but
Saw what happened.
they were great experiences for you and helped shape who you are now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I really did. Just come to see what happened. And I think that by the time I came, I knew that I think we both knew
Mm-hmm.
that it was a long-term thing.
Yep.
Um, and I'm thankful. I loved Haines. I didn't really want to, I think it was great to be back. And funny how Haines works. I'm trying to think how many years that might have been in between, 5 or 6. But you come back, and it's like you were here last summer, right? Because you can just, but you, this community is really good about welcoming people back. I think a lot of people have come back, and it's really, it says a lot of who Haines is, that
Mm-hmm.
that they welcome people back, right? And that Haines continues to call people, right? How many of us have come on a whim and stayed?
Yeah.
Lots of people.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I knew 2 that came up here, and that led to me being here.
Yeah, right? Did your parents come separately? No, they
Nope,
came together.
They just got married. They got married end of July, and August they're
Wow.
in Haines. They had teaching contracts, and they figured,
Let's try it out.
newly married, they can 9 months anywhere. We can make it work. See what happens.
Yeah,
That was 1964.
yeah. And I think that's a pretty common story, that
Yeah, they
people just come
made it work for a long time.
still. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah. So what did you do when you got to Haines?
Worked at the school.
Went back to the school.
I went back to the school.
So was Hospice of Haines? When was Hospice of Haines founded?
1996.
1996.
So
So
they
while
were-
you were gone is when they had established. And was Liz kind of behind that?
There were 5 women. I don't believe Liz was on the very beginning. Beth McCready,
Okay.
Lisa Schwartz, Christy Long, that's at Howe
Yep.
now, Joni Wagner. I believe
Okay.
those were the first.
Yeah.
And then Liz came on very shortly after that. Yeah. And that was the beginning, 1996. And they started it because there was a need.
Mhm.
They knew that people needed some help, usually people who were here by themselves that didn't have family, needed some extra attention.
And it's volunteer.
It is. So we are a unique hospice, that we are all volunteer. I'm the only paid position
Mhm.
at this point. There have been in the past others. But everybody who provides services is a volunteer. And that makes us unique. It allows us to do a couple of different things. If you were to be given a 6-month diagnosis, or anywhere else, if you were to do hospice, you'd have to have that 6-month terminal diagnosis. And that means that your doctor suspects that within 6 months you're going to die. That's to get you Medicaid services, right? So if you were in anywhere else, that's how it would work. If you have a medical model, as we call it, which means a team is addressing you. That's the social worker. We talked about the chaplain, the nurse. There's a team of nurses, and then a doctor oversees or kind of supervises everything. So that team, they get paid for their services. They're billing Medicaid or Medicare or even private insurances to some extent. So a medical model, those services are offered free to people, but they're getting compensated or reimbursed for what the services that they provide. Ours is different. Because we're all volunteers, we don't have to have that 6-month diagnosis. And what does that mean? It means that somebody can have, if somebody is sick enough or their family needs respite care, right? They need somebody, perhaps they're aged as well, and caring for somebody all the time is really difficult. We don't have to have that 6 month diagnosis. That gives us some flexibility, right? Somebody could be on hospice for 3 years. That's okay. If you still need the services and our volunteers, we can still find volunteers to cover that, then we can and will. Yeah. So it gives us a lot of flexibility in how we provide services here in town. Mostly what we do for hospice is respite. So we're not providing medication. We're not providing nursing services. We're just filling in when families need a break, right? We're sitting with clients so that people can get rest or do errands or, take a walk, right? That's really important.
How do most people decide to volunteer with hospice?
Thanks for asking. Usually they have had experience with hospice.
They've been on the other side of that.
They've been on the other side. Their mom or their dad back in Ohio or somewhere has had hospice, and they see how incredible having people that are with you, right? We're with you. If somebody we're with that family. And I think I think you would say things to your hospice volunteer that you don't feel comfortable saying to your friend, maybe, or a casual friend, right? My dad's dying, or my spouse is dying, and I'm scared, right? Hospice, they've had enough training that they know how to handle that tough question. What do I do? What do I say? How do I do this, right? So I think it's a neighbor or friend coming in to step alongside someone who's going through that really tough experience of their loved one being at the end of life, right? And we get to be there for the whole family. I think hospice in general always is, but we get to also be there for the whole family, right? We're not just accepting a client, we're accepting their family, and to care for them as much as we can, and to help them go through a really tough experience that everybody goes through at some point, I think, but we don't always share. Right? I think it's scary. I mean, I can say this. Sam and I had the opportunity recently to be with a friend in Juneau who was dying, to be with her and her family. It was precious, right? We weren't there as hospice, but we had some skills that really helped us in that, right? And even though I've been training for a long time. I've been doing this for a long time. But when it's someone who you love, even all that training, you hope it's muscle memory, right? You hope it kicks in. I think that it was a really wonderful experience because we weren't afraid. We knew it was going to be tough. We knew it was going to be gut-wrenching. And we were willing to step into that with them, right? We were willing to say, or give a hug, or hold a hand, or touch. I didn't realize that, people that you don't know what they're going to do when they're faced with that, right? When their loved one is dying. And sometimes they're afraid. And so to say to your friend, it's okay if we hold your mom's hand, or it's okay if we brush her hair, or it's okay if we brush her teeth. It's okay that we touch her, because she may or may not know that you're doing that, but it's going to make you feel better too, right? Because sometimes we're afraid to do things that seem like, are we going to hurt her? Are we going to? No. You're not. Just, step into it. I don't know. It's tough, right?
Yeah. And so when you have a new volunteer, what's the training process?
We have an 18 to 20 hour course. And so now we used to try to do it over 2 weeks. We've changed through the years, right? Trying to get more people to do this. I think everybody should take this 18 hours, because in that 18 hours, you're going to learn how to be with someone who's dying, but you're also going to learn a little bit about your own grief and how to deal with it. You're going to learn how to be a good advocate for people. You're going to learn how to express, to be able to talk and to listen, to actively listen, because that's a lot of being a hospice volunteer, is actively listening. Letting somebody talk and just talk because they need to get it out.
So you said you changed it from 2 weeks on the 18th.
Sorry, to a weekend. So now we can do it. No, just one weekend. We can do it a Friday night. Mm-hmm. Usually all Friday evening, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday evening, or some variation of that. Just to break up those hours. And
how often do you do that training?
Well, I'd like to say every spring. We didn't do it this spring. But we hope to either do it this fall or next spring again.
How many volunteers do you currently have?
Good question. In the summer, I think we have about 15. In the winter, that drops to probably 9.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean, sometimes we have, it varies, right? Most of the people, there's kind of like a process, right? In the spring, there's also often several people that are on hospice. And in late winter, those are the 2 times, right? That
really? So you can actually see trends on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Winter's a really hard time. Yeah. And that's when
I guess that shouldn't be a surprise, but it's still a surprise.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So late winter, early spring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they kind of coincide, right? Sometimes the fall is busy. And so we also have trends with even in our community. And I would like to get it so that it's a little bit different. I would like us to accept hospice help before we need it, before we really need it. Because what often happens is somebody will get a diagnosis and then they wait because they don't, either they don't need hospice, or hospice, it's one of those words that just stops us, right? When we hear the word hospice.
Yeah, it's like I'm dying.
Mm-hmm. Who wants to admit that, right? Or who wants to face that? That's tough. So one of our rules is we never call anybody. Right? I will never. I mean, people will be referred, and I will say, are you certain that they know hospice is going to call? Because again, if I say, hi, this is Shannon McPhetres from Hospice of Haines.
Oh, if they don't know that's coming, I can imagine that would be, for some people wouldn't be a big deal, but for a lot of people, they'd be, the heck you calling me for?
Exactly. Right. Right. And we don't want that.
That's got to be a tough dynamic to navigate, because you're trying to, you want to be there helping.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's to be the one initiating it.
Mm-hmm. It can be. There's always been awkward moments. But at the same time, my hope is that someday we're comfortable enough with that, that we can.
So what are the benefits of people calling you earlier?
They get volunteers who get to know the client, right?
Okay.
People develop a relationship, right? They may be coming every Tuesday to read a book, your favorite book, and they'll read that book for a couple of months. They're coming every Thursday so that they can sit with you or be with you in the garden, or, until you can no longer go to the garden, but they're developing a relationship with you. So those last weeks and days, the family knows the volunteers and the client knows the volunteer, right?
So when should they be reaching out?
When they get a diagnosis. And maybe it isn't, maybe people aren't getting the diagnosis in a long time, but sometimes what happens for us is we get a call 3 days, before.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
It's really hard. Not that we can't. I think we've done a pretty good job of getting people, initiated right away and getting there. But that's not enough time to develop a relationship. Does it happen? Absolutely. Can we deal with it? Absolutely. But I think ideally, if you have a diagnosis that is potentially an end of life, call hospice. Ask, and we are getting more and more family members who are calling and saying, what services do you offer? Like, we have beds.
That was gonna be my next question.
Yeah.
So besides volunteers coming, sitting with individuals going through this with the family, with patient.
Yep.
Besides beds, what else? What other services is hospice providing?
We have several different programs, but for hospice clients, we have beds. So I think we're the only ones in town right now that have them. We got a grant through COVID, so we have several of them, which is great. There's a team that's known as the bed team, and they will deliver this bed. They'll set it up. They'll help the family kind of make room for it. It comes with what we call a bed bundle, which means there's a mattress that has air circulating, which makes it more comfortable. There's sheets. There's, I'm trying to think, there's a lift blanket that will help when somebody has become bedbound. That helps, you lift, or two people to lift, move that person a little bit easier. So we have some resources in that sense. That team will come and set up the bed. And then later, after the death, they'll also come and collect the bed. I think that's one of the greatest. That team is incredible because they really set the tone too, right? They're coming into a home. Getting a bed to your house is really difficult. It's really difficult because it's that one more step, right? You've made that call, you've gotten hospice involved, and now this bed is coming. Now, that bed can mean a lot of comfort, right? It's not.
So that's the way I looked at it.
Yes.
When we got the one for Dad, that it was making him more comfortable, making things easier for my mom.
Yes.
And it was just, it was a great step.
Yeah.
And to be able to have that, to move him into at that stage, was a tremendous help.
Yeah. I think that's how I like to look at it, Doug, is that you're helping the caregiver. Because getting in and out of bed, and that can be really hard on bodies. And so I feel like that bed is a huge, to me, a relief, right? That you get some help. It raises up, it lowers down, it makes the person more comfortable. Not everybody feels that way. But the other part of it is that it's in an area, usually it's set up in an area of the house that's central. People pass through, usually you don't have room, or it's hard to get into the bedroom. So it's put in the living room. And that makes that person in a central spot where everybody has access to it.
Engaging and easier to spend time with.
Yeah. So even though I think the fear of it keeps people from doing it sooner, when it's actually there, it can provide comfort, ease, better access, right? It's a lot easier to give care when you've made a space for that care to happen. So I think that team that sets it up and takes it down, tremendous help. We're always looking for volunteers to do that. I think it's become part of our training in hopes that more people will want to do it. Because the other thing that happens with hospice volunteers is we start aging ourselves, right?
What?
Yeah.
Once you volunteer for hospice, you don't stop aging? Bummer.
I know, right?
That could have been a big selling point.
It could have been.
You would have got a lot of volunteers.
It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, there's.
Yeah.
It's natural. It's going to happen.
And this is my 21st year. So if somebody.
So you've been doing it for 21 years now.
Here in Haines, yeah.
In Haines.
Yeah. Yeah. So if somebody started the same year I did, that I think even that. That's a long time to be a volunteer, but most of our volunteers stay until they can't stay, right? They
Mm-hmm.
either move away or um, because they've developed really good friendships and really they're playing a role that is unique and really, really special. And everybody who becomes a client, I always say to them, I think they're a little worried. Who's going to be my volunteer? I said, you always get to choose, right? You get the final say. If it's a relationship that's not working for either one of you, we have options.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be with somebody, but everybody who's a volunteer really wants to be a volunteer. Not only have they taken the 20-hour training, but they've thought about it. It's not something that you just willy-nilly decide you're going to volunteer at. You've really thought about what that means. And so our volunteers, our volunteers are incredible though.
Well,
Right?
no, for me I was thinking about that
Yeah.
after the help, with everybody coming and sit with my dad and everything. I was
Yeah.
like, man, that'd be a great way to give back. But boy, I don't know.
You do.
I don't know if there's still too much grief for them to deal with
Yes.
to deal with that again with
Yeah.
other people.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's hard.
I was amazed that people can keep going back and doing that. That had to be, yeah,
It's a gift.
Mhm.
I think for me, that's the easiest way to think of it because they're getting as much as they're giving. Really.
I'm extremely grateful for all the people
Yeah.
that do that.
Yeah.
I don't think at least at this point in my life, I'm not strong enough to do that. I don't think.
But that's okay. And we actually, there are volunteers who come and take the training. So our training is free for everybody. You can become a volunteer or not.
Uh-huh.
So I think, again, I'm going to say, I think everybody should take the training because it's a life skill,
Mm-hmm.
right? All that we cover is a life
I'm gonna
skill.
put this on you to let me know next time you're doing the training.
Okay, I would. Because I would say take the training. And you never have to become a volunteer.
We'll see if I'm strong enough to take the training at the time that you offer the training.
You won't be the only one.
It might take a couple invites for
Yeah.
me to show up.
Okay.
But-
But I think that's normal, Doug.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel that way.
Whether or not I end up volunteering, I'd like to learn more about it.
Exactly. And that's what it's for, is to also learn. Now, the other thing that we haven't even talked about is that Hospice of Haines is not just hospice. We also have a bridge program. And they started this back in, early 2000s when there was a grant for Faith in Action is what it was called.
Okay.
So it was probably about 22 years ago, because it was probably about the time I took the training that this grant was really rolling. And what came of it was there was a group of people in town who were falling through the cracks. And they didn't have services that probably needed services. And this would be people who might have macular degeneration, right? So their eyesight is failing, sometimes rapidly. And they're not able to do things that seem normal to us,
Mm-hmm.
like shop, right? Because they can't see what's on the shelves. And they can't even read their grocery list, possibly,
Mhm.
right? Or without, heavy magnification. Or the newspaper, right?
Yeah.
So we have volunteers who go in and work with those people. They might read the newspaper to them. They might help them pick up their mail, read their mail to them, take them on errands and shopping, take them on car drives, right? So that bridge program for many years until COVID, and maybe even through COVID, those first couple of years, has been sort of the bread and butter, right? This is if volunteers don't feel comfortable sitting bedside. It's okay. How about taking somebody grocery shopping? Or how about taking them on a car ride, right?
Mhm.
Because as we age, who takes us on car rides? Who, if we can't drive anymore, some of us love to go see the bears or
Yeah.
what are we used to take our friends out just to see what all the changes around town, right? And so we need volunteers to do that too. And sometimes what happens is volunteers start that way, and then their favorite client starts aging, and they don't want to leave.
Okay.
Does that make sense? You
Yeah.
know, they want to
Yeah.
be there till the end.
Yeah.
And so sometimes our bridge volunteers kind of ease
Ease
into.
into the hospice aspect.
Yeah.
So how is all of this funded?
Good
I
question.
mean, because there's your salary, all the coordination, all the
Mm-hmm.
resources with the beds, those were grants and stuff, but there's
Mm-hmm.
still got to be funding. I
Yeah.
know you have the big sale
Yep.
at the
The
beginning
rummage
of May,
sale.
big
Mm-hmm.
rummage sale.
Mm-hmm. The
Does
bike
that
race, we participate. We have a checkpoint for the bike
okay?
race.
And so you
Yep.
get a donation from the
Yep.
bike
So
race.
it's all donations and grants.
Okay.
Mostly donations, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how we're funded. Yeah. So I mean, people care about their community and they care. So we've, you know, a few legacy grants, but mostly just ordinary donations and fundraisers that we do. We have a booth at the fair.
At the fair. Yep.
Yep, a little pie booth or a little dessert booth. So those are a rummage sale, the bike race, and the pie booth are the three main fundraisers. We also have different events. Like my favorite event is what we call Light the Night. And we usually do it in October.
Which is really cool.
It's really cool.
Well,
it's also hard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was, went to it the first time last October.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was something I was not aware of.
Yeah.
I think I've heard of it, but yeah, my mom wanted to go, and so I brought her. And
yeah.
It was very shortly
special.
after Dad passed. It was very
yes,
special.
It was.
But yeah, and we'll be back this fall.
Good. Yeah. So it's a remembrance night, right? And it's a time to, I say light a candle, but it's, you know, it's not an actual candle, but it's a light. It's a little.
That was
light.
my one. I wanted to light a candle.
I know. There is something.
I wanted real flame. No, I'm just joking with you. Our family's kind of pyromaniacs. We like building fires. So no.
I'll have a special few that are real
right.
candles because they're in a jar.
The stuff that was there was the little electric candle things were perfectly fine. I just it'd be a bad time.
Yeah. Well, it's just I think for me, it's a way to say I remember and I care. The first couple of years we did it, used to be out on the track.
Okay.
And I think that was a very visible, like Beth put up tiki torches around the track and it was a very visible, but for some reason the weather has always been horrible. Always raining, wind blowing. So real fire's hard to do.
Well, last year at your house, or at the house next door, your
a little garden.
A little garden there. It was chilly, but it wasn't.
No, it was wonderful. It was the best year ever.
Yeah.
As far as the weather.
Yeah.
But I think it's just a great event to say, hey, we remember, we care. You write a name, you write a note, you make it visible, you don't, that's your choice. But then you get to put that out there somewhere. And for a few hours, that light burns and it reminds us that there were, and some people come and say, how many can I light? And the first couple of years, I was like, oh, I only have, so many. But now I say as many as you want.
Okay.
Because for some people, they want to do every loss that they've ever had, or every loss that's meant something, and that might be 10 lights, or it might be one light with 20 names. Right? We've had both.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think for some, and I say this every year, there is always people who come that absolutely need to come. They need an outlet. They need a way to say, I remember this person mattered, and I want to express that in a way, right? I think there's something about ceremonies that's important. And I will never forget, and I'm going to say this because it meant so much to me. When Sam's dad died, it was really hard to find a way to really express that, right? My loss. And I called Vince Hansen and I said, I'm not Catholic. It's not my realm, but I believe that you have really good ceremony, right? I believe there's a ritual, there's
there's a program almost.
Mm-hmm.
And I need that. And it's funny that some of us need that. Vince graciously put together something just for the four of us, our family. And we went over there one night, just the four of us. And we lit candles and he said beautiful words. And that was what I needed. I don't know if the kids or Sam needed it, but I needed it. And it was so beautiful and important.
How did you recognize that that's what you needed?
Good question. I don't know.
It just came to you that this is something that would be beneficial to you?
Yeah. And I think as the it wasn't my dad, he was my father-in-law.
Yeah.
But he was my dad of heart. And I think that I don't know, that there's like layers of, how people, I don't know, I needed that as a daughter-in-law. I needed to express.
No, I agree 100%. I'm just.
And we have customs, but they don't always fit.
Yeah. Because the reason I'm asking is trying to figure out, because there's days that it doesn't seem real.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
It's been 7 months, 8 months?
Yeah.
And so does that, would a ceremony help? Would something else help?
Mm-hmm.
Does talking about it help? When I go visit the grave.
Mm-hmm.
But even then it's like,
it doesn't feel, well, it's a hole. It's a loss,
yeah.
Doug.
And so that's what I was wondering, is there,
yeah.
How did you feel that was something that you needed? It just came. Do you think that was God guiding you?
Well, probably. I mean, yeah. I think that.
Well, when it leads you to Vince, I mean.
Yeah.
Vince is a good resource for that.
Vince is a great resource for that.
Person.
Yeah, and I think, try everything. If I think that's also true. I feel like I've had to grieve enough that I also have to find. I'm trying to think of how to say it. Yeah, I think that, yes, listen to your heart. And the more we listen, the more we hear.
What if people don't trust their heart?
Well,
where do we go from there, Shannon? I'm asking you.
We're not always going to trust our heart, but I think we have to keep trying. Because one time you're going to need a ceremony, and the next time you're just going to need to sit in a dark room and cry. Sometimes you're going to need a friend to talk, and sometimes you're just going to need a friend to hold your hand. And I'm going to say this to you, Doug, and my husband is right here. I'm happy to always sit with anybody who wants to talk about their loved one, because I love hearing stories, and I think that that's a huge way for us to express ourselves, is to tell stories. What made your dad? What was your favorite thing about your dad?
We don't have enough time in the podcast.
Yeah. See, but I'm happy to hear that story.
Yeah.
And I would like for us, and I think there are people who are okay with that, right? I still think we live in, whatever reason, a culture where that's not something that we ask often. I sometimes hold myself back, and I don't say enough. Or I'm trying to do better at saying, hey, I've been thinking about you, and I've been thinking about your dad or whoever it is that you lost, and tell me something. Because I think when we tell stories too, it's relieving. We laugh a lot. We have a rule that we need to, and I, when Steve died, our kids were young, and we wanted to make sure that they remember him. And even if they don't remember him, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
like we have, in fact, I was just walking through my garden today weeding, and I thought there's the stones that Steve brought to our house.
Okay.
And we wanted
Yep.
to make sure and put them in the garden,
Yep.
right? So there's little, I mean, we do little things. We bake recipes, right? We tell stories over and over. We laugh. I think laughter's a huge medicine. I think that's even biblical, right? Some of
A
the
big thing
biggest
for
minds.
me, this for Christmas, being Scandinavian, we always make lefse.
Mhm.
And I usually don't stay very long because it's
Something you've done forever, or
well, no, it's just it's
it's hard now.
it was hard before
Mm.
because usually being single during the holidays, you
Oh.
got family and
Yeah.
everybody's happy, and then you're gonna go home by yourself.
Mhm.
It's hard being there, so I usually don't stay very long.
Mhm.
And my nephews give me a bad time because I just go over there and eat the lefse and leave.
Yeah.
And they're like, "How come you don't have to roll it out or do anything?" But my cousin Darren was back with his girlfriend last month, and he wanted to make lefse with her, and so we had a family night, and everybody's like, Tyler's like, "You just gonna eat and run again?"
Aw.
But my dad was usually the one that did most of the turning,
Yeah.
and when I got there was nobody doing the turning, and so it was very comforting for me, and I did every single one of them, but it was just kind of like, okay, Dad's not here now, so I guess I'm the one that's flipping the lefse.
Yeah.
I got the stick, and it's
Yep.
I'm gonna and
Practice.
and it was a different time of year, so I don't know if that was part of it, but it was very comforting to be doing a family event like that, and then kind of sitting in my dad's place and
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah.
It was
Oh.
I tried to hide the emotion. I think I did pretty well while I was up there. I'm not doing very good of it right now, but it
Yeah.
it was
Very special.
mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a way to keep our people
Mhm.
near and dear to us, right? How happy would your dad be that you were doing that?
Well, there's a couple he was probably saying I cooked them too long. That was probably what he was.
Right?
And there was a couple that got stuck on the with the rolling pin. He would have criticized us for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's
Yeah. It's
trying
important.
trying to find those things.
Yeah. And sometimes you're going to, I mean, obviously succeed and get it. And other times you'll,
We'll see how it turns out at Christmas this
Yeah.
next year.
yeah. Definitely.
I knew this was going to be tough, Shannon. You were worried about it for you. I think I was twice as
Wait.
worried as you were
Come here.
for emotions
I'm sorry.
than I was.
Oh, it's okay.
I appreciate you.
Oh. Thankful. Thankful that we get to walk through that.
Well, through the whole process, you and Sam both were extremely helpful. Not just with hospice and arranging volunteers and all the volunteers that came up and sat with my dad. It was very meaningful for him and for my mom.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a huge burden off of her, and he would always, he'd tell us who he was talking with and who was sitting with him, and so yeah, it was very, very worthwhile having hospice for that, and it never having gone through that, not really understanding it as well beforehand,
Yeah.
gives much greater appreciation for the job the organization does.
Yeah.
After experiencing that on a first-hand basis. So besides volunteering and fundraising, what else can people do to assist hospice, to let friends know? I mean, who do they contact? What are the other things? What are we missing about hospice in Haines here that I haven't asked you
The
about,
education
Shannon?
piece.
Okay.
Okay. So
No, I did it for 2 years. So this last year I did not, but the previous 2 winters, in the darkest, deepest part of winter, January through March, we did a taking care series, what we call taking care, and they were mini workshops. So we did those mostly at the library. There might have been we showed a movie, I think, at Chilkat Center. And, the first year, maybe 5 to 10 people came. And this was just our educational piece because we've gotten fewer and fewer people doing the volunteer training. This was our way of saying, this is important information. We're going to put it out there in a little mini piece. And if you just want to do this one piece, you can. So we did trainings on, I'm trying to think all the trainings that we did, how to be a caregiver, how to be with a grieving friend, how to, last year we did some classes on what it is to address like hearing, right? And how to address some of those things that come with aging. Our goal, not just our goal, I think there are several organizations in town who are trying to do this. Haines needs to be a place where we can age in place.
Yeah.
Right? That we can go our whole lifespan here. Or we can go those golden years, right? All the way to the end. I think that that's our goal, is to really help people do that, especially those people who want to, right? Sometimes for medical reasons, people are taken out of town and they can't die here. But everybody wants to be in their home, either in their home or, maybe at Hal or with a loved one. But everybody wants to be loved until the very end, I think. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but that's my thought, that we all want that. And so let's help people do that. And that educational piece, I think people came to classes last year that were, they even helped me, right? I did a class on how to talk to your loved ones. And then after I took it, I went, maybe we need to have a few more conversations. My parents are great. I think they've reconciled themselves to the fact that they have a hospice daughter, or a daughter who's involved with hospice. So they have these conversations all the time. But I feel like every year I learn more about what my parents want, what we're going to do, how we're going to handle it, what it's going to look like. I have more questions, but I also have more answers. And I get a little bit braver about, in fact, they might think I'm far too pushy, but I feel like it's important that we talk about this, not just, with our spouses, with our significant others, with our siblings, right? What about siblings that don't have a caregiver, right? Or somebody, what's going to happen then? I think it's good to just start the conversation. Maybe at 50.
Trying to be as nice to Tyler and Sarah's kids, Tyler and Justin and Dylan and Kaylee, as
right?
trying to be nice as possible, and hoping they'll think of me kindly when things go south and take care of their uncle.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, exactly. But how do we have those conversations too? Do they know what you want? Do they know, how you feel about
things? Treated in the way that I've grown accustomed.
Well, you better start telling them now, just so they're prepared.
They'll be putting any Raider football on while I'm on.
There you go.
Control them.
Yeah, I can hear it. Last sense to go is the hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll know if you change the channel.
That's the way they would get back at me, and have a Raiders on instead of the Seahawks or something.
Yeah. That's just good to have those conversations. So we do mini classes occasionally too. And those are all grant funded. Yeah. So I think Hospice of Haines covers a lot of territory. And I field questions all the time. I'm happy to have somebody call and say, either my parent is aging, or my friend. I think now we get some calls about people who have friends, right, that don't have family. Well, what do we do for this person? How can we help them? How can we, and unfortunately, I'm going to say that hospice also has limitations, right? We really do need to have a primary caregiver involved.
How do you get that?
Good question.
Is that a matter of funding?
No, it's a matter of somebody stepping up.
Okay.
Right? So if somebody's not married, they have no family in the area,
then they may need to ask a friend to be their caregiver, right? If they want to stay
Okay,
here.
I was thinking you're a primary caregiver. I was
Yep.
thinking for some reason I was thinking physician aspect of that, but
No.
not necessarily.
No. This
Yeah,
would be,
you need somebody that's in the house taking care of them.
yes.
Yeah, I got you.
Or at least, I'm trying to
Stopping
think.
by, stopping by
But
regularly,
that's
helping
going
with
to get,
that's
end of life, that's going to get
yeah,
tricky.
it's pretty much somebody full time,
Yeah.
and you don't have that capability right now.
The thing about death is kind of like birth. You don't know when it's coming.
Coming.
Yeah, and you don't know when it's going to happen. I can say that it has happened in the past that we were able to cover 24/7 for a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think that that could happen now? It would be very difficult.
Yeah.
Just our, as with all agencies, we don't have as many volunteers. I don't know that it could happen, but I don't also know that it couldn't happen. But we'd like to have.
So the key part of that is more volunteers, and volunteers with a different skill level, maybe.
That's probably part of the piece, but the other part of the piece is that everybody needs to be thinking about the end of their life.
Mm-hmm.
And cultivating a friendship with somebody younger than you is not a bad idea. Right? Somebody who can help you with grocery shopping, somebody who can help you. I think it's harder and harder to manipulate systems, right? So who's going to, and I say this because I've been somebody's person,
Mm-hmm.
and it was really difficult for me, even as a power of attorney, to navigate some of the systems that we have that are so digital, right?
Mm-hmm.
So who's going to fill out your Alaska Permit Fund, or do your taxes, or help make sure that your bills are paid, or get your medication, right? If you can't drive anymore, who's picking up your medication?
Is that something you're going to do a class on, or have you done a class on that?
I have done, yeah, and sort of just thinking about. I think each of us needs to have people, and not just, even if we're married, that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean that that person's going to be able to do those things, right? So
Yeah, usually they're pretty close to your same age bracket.
yeah.
Could be suffering the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. So, if you have young friends, or I've even had, I think there was a group of friends that got together and decided that they were going to be each other's people. So they were, I don't even know what their ages were, but they were a group of, retired people who said, we're going to be each other's people. We're going to be each other's powers of attorney. And if one of us needs it, there's at least two of us to step in and do something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what a brilliant plan, right? They all had relatives that lived in the lower 48. If you need to be medevaced in the middle of the night, is your power of attorney living in Texas going to be able to help you? Right? Navigate that system. So I think that having a group of friends who say, we're going to be each other's people, what a brilliant idea. And they may need to get other people at some point. Who knows what that's going to look like as the years change. But for the moment, they're filling in for family. They're being and that's what I think Haines is. It happens here. It happens
Mm-hmm.
often. And I think we can do it, right? That we can be each other's people and look out for each other. And that may mean I'm going to go, you may need somebody to go on a trip with you to get your eyes, your cataracts taken care of. Great. Somebody to travel with you to do that. Your friend can do that, or
If there's people in Haines that are listening to this and they're
Mm-hmm.
like, that's a great idea, I'd like to help find some people.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that if they called you, you'd be able to kind of tell them the things that they need to be working on? Are you a resource for that?
I think so. I'm not going to do your power of attorney.
You're not going to
gonna
do
any
all
of
that.
the legal stuff, but
No,
I
but
will certainly, yes.
help them set them up with a
Yes.
friend, or answer
Yes.
questions about
Absolutely.
what are the things that they need to be aware of going forward. And
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yep. And I think we all need to be, I only learned in the last couple of years that if you turn 60, you should put your name on the Alaska Pioneer Home list. 60. I didn't know that. I mean, apparently it felt like an unspoken rule. It's like, really? But yes, so there are certain things as we age, if we can help each other along in that process, right? Me saying to you, Doug, have you put your name on the Alaska Pioneer list?
I got 3 years before I need to do that shit.
Right? I know, but it's just a
I got
crazy
time.
little thing. But if we're 60, are we thinking about that? Maybe not. But pretty soon we're then 70. Hopefully, right?
Hopefully that keeps growing.
Yeah, but to age in place, what do we need to have? How can we look forward and ahead of us to be set up for that?
Mm-hmm.
And that looks different for every person, right? But every person should be thinking about it. And how can I help you? How can I help, my best friends? How can I help the person our neighbor down the street that doesn't have anybody? I mean, I feel like we're just as responsible for our neighbors and our people that we don't really even know as much as our family.
Yeah, and I think that's one of it might be other places too, but I think that's one of the things Haines does well.
Yep.
Is looking out for our neighbors and looking out for people. I see it all the time in the grocery store, people coming in, helping other people or getting groceries for whoever's sick or, it happens. And I like the idea of having that out there, that there's other planning besides just helping them with groceries or going to the mail, that there's some other things that are a bigger decision making that needs more planning for it, to be really effective in the later years.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And they might not have anybody to do it with them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And some of us don't want to. We've met our fair share of people who, and I think it's fair to say this, that sometimes our job in hospice is to help the caregiver more than even the client, right? Because for many caregivers, it can be a very long journey, right? And that looks different because you're aging too. So not only are you caregiving, but you're aging. And, I think even as my parents age, I'm watching this happen and I'm thinking, okay, we have to be mindful of not only the person being cared for, but the caregiver. Extra mindful. Because not only is that a huge emotional burden, but it's also a physical burden. And I think that, and mental, right?
Watch that firsthand for 38 years.
Yeah, it's huge. And so I'd like to think our job, and my job in particular, is to, as I go about the community, however, to encourage caregivers. I mean, I really think, if anybody called and said, I'm tired, okay, let's see what we can do for you. Let's see how we can help. I mean, I think we're that's also the flexibility of having volunteers. I never know what somebody's willing to do, right? Because we've had some strange requests. I'm like, okay, I'll put it out there and see what happens. Yeah. And most, if not all of those requests are usually met. Because people step up. We have some amazing people. Yeah.
So what's one or two things that you would like to see people either have a better understanding about the end of life process, or is it being able to talk about it more often? What are some things that you think that we're the people that haven't gone through it, or even the people that have, what can we do better?
That's a good question. Always compassion, right? Always having compassion on those people that are going through it. What can we do better? I think talk about it. I think make it, demystify it a bit, right? 'Cause it feels scary. And I don't know that it should. Why are we scared of it? It's
we all know it's going to happen.
We know it's going to happen. And maybe most of the fear is that we don't want it to happen. Right? We love someone so dearly that we don't want to be without them. so the more we talk about it and plan for it and think about it and prepare, maybe that takes away some of the fear. I hope. I think it does. But it's a cultural thing too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we're not the best culture in dealing with it and thinking about it and planning for it. I don't know. I think that's part of why I want to do the classes all the time.
Have you done any studies of other cultures that you think might do
No.
it best and better?
No, I've some for grief. I think grief is handled better in other cultures.
Which culture do you think handles grief the best?
I think the Tlinkits do.
Yeah.
I love some of those traditions. And I think that I'd like to, to hear more about that. And I'd like for us to be able to have, I think, share those stories, right?
Have you talked to CIA or CIV to see if there's some kind of a collaborative thing
No,
that
but it
you
would
could
be
do?
great. Yeah, we've talked about it through the years, and we'd love to do it. So if anybody's listening that says we'd love to do it, I'd love to. Yeah.
Well, we just talked to Harriet a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I think, having a conversation with Harriet or
Mm-hmm.
Kimberly and Cluckwan or something, and just maybe all three organizations work on something on
It'd be
dealing.
so fun.
I mean, it's not a race-based thing where all humans are dealing with it, and we can learn from other cultures on ways to deal with it. And for some people it might not work, some people it will.
Yeah.
Like you said, you wanted a different,
Mm-hmm.
more ceremonial or more
Yep. Like a ritual.
a ritual or whatever
tradition.
to deal with it, a tradition to deal with it, and
Mm-hmm.
learning from another culture that might do it better.
Mm-hmm.
Why not explore
Well,
that?
I mean, even the Spanish cultures that have Day of the Dead,
Mm-hmm.
when they honor those people that they've lost. I think we can learn from all of those. I love hearing stories of how not just different people but different cultures deal with it, because I think it is important that it's a cultural thing too, right? But as a human race, we might need all of those, right? I feel like sometimes.
Well, I think that we all respond to different stimulus, and whatever it is, it doesn't hurt to try different ones to find out what it is that works. Just because
if it eases the pain and the exactly, right? Yeah, I think that's really important. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna switch gears on you now.
Okay.
I need another break from hospice.
Yeah. Ukraine.
Yep. What was your time like in Ukraine? Because that was 95?
94.
94.
So they were, if I remember correctly, they were 3 years from independence from the USSR. I was, and George Fox. Again, this is one of those things I think. Okay, so this was the second year that this program had been done. Every year, junior year, they have what's called Juniors Abroad. So they do a whole bunch of different trips. And I always thought, as I was or I should say, since my freshman year, I thought, well, I'll do the 23 countries in, 25 days trip. Because, of course, I've never been to Europe. That'd be so much fun.
23 countries in 25 days?
Just kidding. Yeah, it was something where they did.
They just went all over.
They went all over Europe.
The trains, and here we
go.
Yeah,
here we go. So there's that trip. And then my sophomore year, they took a trip to Ukraine, and they worked with a language institute.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of an exchange. And I'm trying to remember the first year. I don't know if the kids actually came. I don't remember if the Ukrainian kids came to the U.S. But my roommate at the time went over. She had a miserable trip. There were bugs, there was heat, there was, not good food, or at least it made her sick. She had a horrible time. I'm like, I'm not going to Ukraine. It's funny though. Don't you see the pattern? Whenever I say, I really don't want to do that, God says, I think you should.
You should be telling everybody, I really don't want to win the lottery. That would be terrible. Please do not win the lottery.
Maybe that would work.
Here you go, Shannon.
Maybe, I don't know. I really didn't want to go to Ukraine. It didn't sound like a fun trip. And I don't even remember what it was that convinced me that it was the right trip to do. But when my juniors abroad time came, I ended up going to Ukraine.
And you had choice.
Mhm.
This wasn't a sign for you. You had a choice. And so
Mm-mm.
from the year before, your roommate had a terrible experience. By the time it came to sign up, you're like,
Mhm.
I'm going to Ukraine.
Somehow I
All
ended
that
up,
bad food
yeah,
and bugs and
I'm
heat
gonna
and
risk
everything.
it.
Sign me up for that.
Yep. Obviously probably called. And I was with 12 other students, 2 professors. We traveled to Ukraine.
Where
I remember Kiev. We
Okay.
were there in Kiev.
Yep.
And worked with this institute, a language institute. So all of the kids that were in their group spoke English. I mean, English was the language that we used. While we were there, we took Russian classes, interestingly enough. I did not do well. I spoke Spanish and not Russian. I couldn't make the conversion. But we spent the first week in the dorm with them. They had a dorm, like a floor that they had reserved for us. And so we lived with these 12 students and their 2 professors and our 2 professors like a family. And it was fascinating. There was a language barrier. There was, even for, Alaska standards, it was pretty rough.
Mhm.
The shower situation, I just remember being this dark concrete room, and it was very, different standards.
Mm-hmm.
But the people, oh my goodness, Doug, they were so gracious. Everyone was as sweet and as kind could be. I don't think I met any person that we didn't, well, that's, most of the people, 99% of the people that we met were incredibly gracious and, just wonderful. But we also had, so we had 1 week at the dorms, then we lived with families. So we had a roommate and we lived with their family. And then we spent maybe 3 weeks with them. And then we spent 1 week in Western Ukraine.
Okay.
So we were the first American group that had ever been in this Western Ukraine town called Chernobyl, not Chernobyl, but Chernobyl. And I think there we actually saw a little bit of the Russian mafia that was still in play there. I mean, that was a different experience for us. But we spoke with their school. Of course, the school asked us to come. Part of that was also if Americans had come to the school, more people would want to come to the school. So there was always a little bit of play, right?
Okay. Yeah, they're using these guys for advertising and stuff
bit.
too.
Yeah, I think that was going on more than we knew, probably. But the families that we lived with and spent time with were fabulous. The first question my Ukrainian mom asked me was, did my family still have slaves? And I was so taken back by that. I didn't even, I think it took me a long time. And of course, her daughter was translating for us. And I just remember being embarrassed. And then I thought, oh, you grew up during Soviet times and you were told a lot of things about Americans. And we spent the next 3 weeks debunking every one of those myths. And not just for her, but for us, because I don't know that we had the true story, right? And I think that the friendships that were developed then, I didn't realize how lifelong they were going to be. In 94.
With not just Ukrainians, with the different Ukrainian families you're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
So with that 3 weeks with your family, were you with the same family the full 3 weeks?
Same family.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And my Ukrainian mom, one night I came home and she had these leaves strung across my bed. And I remember looking at her and saying, what is this? And she said, these are so that you will stay here forever. And then she proceeded to hit me with them. I got a whole treatment. And I laughed about it. And also it was so endearing, right? That was a tradition of theirs. She was sharing with me. She didn't want me to leave. And to be honest, I really wasn't sure I wanted to leave. I loved every second of
Well, it sounds
time
like
there.
a piece of you still there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's part of your heart that's still there.
Absolutely. I learned how to be, I'd never been on a metro station before. Every
crevice of your being is pressed up against somebody else's. I mean, we packed them on, right? And I didn't speak the language, but I never felt like that's not something I remember. Of course, we had our translators with us at all times. All of our friends were always with us, but it was just an incredible experience. Incredible.
So outside the house and stuff, what kind of social stuff was it mainly sightseeing? Were you
Some
going
of
out
that,
to
but we just lived
different
their lives.
restaurants and stuff? And
We
was the
took
food like?
classes. Food was kind of hard, but also I knew how much trouble they went to get it.
Yeah.
Like, this is why I don't eat meat. Like one picnic dinner, they had boiled the chicken, and I knew that they had to go to a special store to get. You went to the meat store to get the chicken. You went to the produce, whatever it was, to get that, right? The mom who made that meal spent hours getting everything for it.
Cooking it.
So we were very appreciative of every meal we ever got. And, you'd pass by the meat store and so I think
different food safety standards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. All well and good. The food was fine. I remember various things, like the ice cream was wonderful. They had compote, like they would boil down fruit, right?
Yeah.
So you'd make the juice, you'd use the juice and add it to your tea. And they always had something special for us. They pulled out the red carpet for us. And I knew that was not easy for a lot of those families. And so I'm so very grateful for every one of those families that participated. I hope that we brought, joy to them. I know we spent months gathering things like peanut butter and Band-Aids. And we took a lot of medicines that they couldn't get that we could buy off the counter, right? Vitamin C's.
You brought that with you then? When
Brought
you went
that
over
with
there?
us. So we went full luggage.
Yeah. And
most of it was not ours. Very little did we bring because we were wanting to bring so much for them. Yeah. I think that it was important. I think that those were things that they still couldn't get at that time. They were still, they were a brand new country, really. But they were not a brand new people. And I think that was also what we learned, is the pride of the Ukrainian people. I am not surprised at anything they do.
So getting to that.
Yeah.
Are you still in touch?
Absolutely. So what happened is we spent...
With the invasion, are they all still safe?
So far. We spent 5 weeks with them there, and then they came over to Oregon.
Oh, they came to Oregon?
Yeah. And that also was great fun.
Yeah.
Most of us at that time were older. We were all older students. So some of us had apartments. It looked different, right? We didn't have our families there. So we divided up everybody differently. But we had so much fun showing them Oregon. Most of them had not been to America, even outside of Ukraine at that time. So it was really wonderful to have them there.
Yeah, just that short after independence, the resources and everything, the money to be able to travel was
not there.
They didn't have those resources.
No. So this was an incredible opportunity for them and for us. How wonderful. I was sad that we couldn't come to Alaska, but Oregon's also beautiful. And so we had so much fun. We spent a lot of time. We took trips like to the coast, and the whole group again. I don't even remember how I got through my classes, because I think that was our focus, was them being there.
And just making it the best experience
Making it the best. We celebrated all the holidays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, all the American holidays. The way we did them, we celebrated while they were there, so that they could get a taste of that, which made it really fun, really fun. And one of our professors, that went with us, she opened up her home, and so we had all of the meals there and stuff. It was just really a neat experience. And then they went home, and they did their thing, and we did our thing. And it wasn't until 2014 when they had internal issues and clashing. And Facebook, we can say a lot of things about Facebook, but I am super thankful because it reconnected me with a lot of that group.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Some of us from George Fox, but
Mostly people in
mostly
Ukraine.
from them. Yeah. So like 5 Ukrainians and myself have kept in touch for a long time. How wonderful, right? Facebook, it's instantaneous.
Yep.
And they could get it then. By 2014, it was as familiar to them as to us. So when trouble started in Kiev, one of my friends, she desperately needed things. And so Sam and I started making up boxes and sending them. And she got them. I mean, it was amazing that they could get them. But we would, I remember in the middle of the night texting, a lot of conversations back and forth. Because it was right in the center where most of them lived. And the clashing and the violence and all of that was happening right there. And so it was real time for us to talk to them.
And you're getting a firsthand account of everything that's going on.
Yeah.
How hard was that for you?
Scary.
Being so far away, knowing somebody you care about is in the middle of that.
Yeah. I thought that was scary. I had no idea what was coming, but I thought that was scary. But also we could help, right? We could send stuff and it got there. Because all the systems had broken down.
That's crazy that you're sending stuff from Alaska to Ukraine.
I know, right?
In the middle of a war, and it's getting to the address.
Getting to them. Yeah. I mean, that was the wild thing about it. And also very confusing. Like, how are they getting this when this is going on in the middle of their city? But they did. And so through that, we reestablished friendships. And now we all had kids the same age and life experiences, right? And kind of kept in touch. And then we recognized long before they did that something was changing. Was that 2021? February of 21, I believe, is when it was. And I contacted all of the ones that I stay in close contact with, and I said, I just want you to know, it sounds like from our news that there could be an invasion soon. And most of them had not heard anything.
Really?
Just the way their system works.
Yeah.
Whether the government didn't know and wasn't telling people, or whether they did know and they just weren't telling people. I'm not sure. To this day, I don't know exactly which one of those was, but they didn't know. And one of them, who's become like a sister, her husband worked for UNESCO, and they recognized too that something was happening. Things were changing. Embassies were pulling out. It was kind of escalating. And so a week before the invasion, her family left. And I can't tell you, I mean, I ask everybody I know to pray. I said, there has to be some divine help on this one because it's going to be difficult for them to get out. They sailed through every border.
Really?
Because nobody believed it was going to happen. Nobody.
Yeah.
And a week before
beforehand,
they left, as if they were going on vacation. And they immigrated to the Netherlands.
So they're still in the Netherlands.
They decided to stay.
Yep.
And for her, she wasn't sure her daughter goes back. But she was just recently there and had to spend several nights in the metro station underground because the bombing was so bad. I don't know that she'll go back. I think that was a real thing, right? The rest of them that are there, they're probably serving. They don't talk much. They are so, I don't know if they're stubborn or just strong, right? But to talk to them, they talk about their daily lives. They talk about, and it's like, wait a second. You had to leave your home last year because the Russians came in and took over your home, and they destroyed various things. You had to rebuild your house, and you're talking about dinner like it's dinner.
Yeah.
Right? they rebuilt their lives, and yet it's still going on.
It's still going on.
And
But is and that's the thing, that strength and resiliency, and we've talked about it a lot through this.
Mhm.
It amazes me that the things that as humans
we can endure.
that we can endure and continue on. And I think that was
Mm.
one of the things that drew me to history
Mm.
was the struggles
Mhm.
that humans have endured over you're always striving to be better than the previous generation, but the different things that, whether it's conflict, disease, the different way we've treated different peoples,
Yeah.
you're talking slavery and everything. How long did it take us to figure that one out and abolish that in the United States, and then the generations afterwards where you're still not considered a human being just because you have different colored skins. Like, we look at it now, it's like, seriously, what? Took you guys that long to figure that out?
Yeah.
But I also look at when you go through these great struggles, and then when you come out of them, that strength and resiliency usually flowers into just these amazing, creative generations that I don't know what it is that triggers in the mind or whatever, but
the greatness that comes.
The greatness that comes after it. And it sucks that we have to have all these huge struggles to get to that point.
Yes.
But that's a comforting thing for me when I see, like, when COVID was hitting.
Yeah.
After a couple weeks, I forget who it was that came in, and they're like, "Man, this sucks." I was like, "Man, I can't wait for what comes next." And I'm like, "What? This is not good." It's like, "Well, no, this is gonna suck. This is gonna be." But what's
what are we going to learn from this?
What are we going to learn from this? What's going to be that leap forward that we have, whether it's in the arts or wherever it is? There's going to be something that 100 years from now they're going to look back and it's like, look what happened after that struggle.
Yeah, yeah.
I haven't seen what it is yet because I
know. I don't think we're there yet.
I still see us in a major struggle.
Yeah.
I don't think we're at that point. There's more beyond COVID that we're dealing with.
Yep.
But I know there's going to be something amazing at the end of it.
Yeah. And I hope that's true for Ukraine. I pray that.
I pray for that as well.
Because we're also talking, so the students that we were with in 94, they were kids.
Yeah.
During USSR. So they grew up in that trauma, right? And then they had the trauma, but also the freedom that came in 91. And they had this period of really wonderful.
Russia invaded them before this one.
Yeah. Yeah. So they've had some freedom and tasted that, and now it's taken away from them again. And so I one of the students in particular, there was a lot of fear, right? And mistrust. And I don't think that ever left. And so there hasn't been a generation. I'm waiting, right? There hasn't been that generation gap that we seem to have, right? Because they just went from one trauma basically to the next. So I'm hoping for their children.
They haven't had that reset.
No, not really.
No.
Not long enough not a generation.
No.
Yeah. So it's continued on for them. So I have high hopes and, that good things will come for them. Because they're really an incredible people. And they're a lot like Alaskans. A lot. Right? It's a different climate, but it's the same culture. I think that as far as there's many similarities between Alaskans and Ukrainians. Yeah. So
what have we missed in the Shannon story? That what should I have asked you about that I didn't ask you about, Shannon?
I don't know. I think, isn't that all of us, that we get to grow and continue? Someday,
we do. I hope we all continue and grow throughout. But to this stage in your life, is there something major, something really cool, fun, sad that we've missed? That
our kids?
Yeah. I mean, you have two wonderful kids.
We do, but we didn't come by them easily either.
Do you want to go down that road?
Not really.
That's fine.
But I'm also not afraid of it. What we've learned through that journey, and I thank Haines for being patient with us. The first time we dealt with infertility, and the first time we did an IVF, we didn't tell anybody.
And of course, when it failed, we were devastated, and nobody knew that. Because infertility is a lot like, or miscarriages, or, that which comes, because everybody thinks having children is so easy. And to this day, I try really hard not to ask people when they first get married, when are you having kids? When are you having kids? Because in the end, it may not be that easy for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
It might be a journey that's really difficult. And that question, there's a lot of loss and grief that can come with that question there, right? So
And that's spoken from experience, isn't it?
yes, and I know. And so when we did have our IVF was not successful, and I painted. The inside of our house looks so glorious by the end of that summer. Every single inch of our house. That's how I dealt with my grief that summer. And by fall, or when we started to try the process again, I made sure that we told people, our close people who would be.
So you had a support system.
Yeah, so we had a support system, and all the difference in the world. Even if it had failed, it would have been a completely different experience because we had a net. We had a support system. And I'm thankful that also brought out people who said, oh, we struggled with that too. Or, hey, my niece is struggling with this. Do you mind talking to her? Of course not. Of course, I'd love to talk to her about it. I can't solve her problem, but I can talk with her. Right? And I think for both of us, that's opened up doors that we didn't know. That we could walk alongside people that were also experiencing that. And I think that was a special, we didn't know it at the time. Of course, it's just a hard thing when you're going through it. It's just hard. Mm-hmm. But when you're on the other side, then you get to see that glory that you just talked about, or that maybe fruit, that comes from doing something hard, is being able to walk alongside other people who have struggled with it. And science has come a long way. We do have 2 beautiful children, but they're not children anymore. 2 young adults.
Young adults.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I've seen it on shirts, and just even before I saw it on the shirts, just you never know the battle somebody else is waging.
Yep.
There's so many battles that are going on in everybody around us.
Yep.
And so it's, just be kind with your words and your actions.
Yeah,
you do not know what that other person is dealing with.
Exactly.
And you don't have any right to know what. If they want to share it with you, then fine. But there's no.
We don't always know.
You don't always know what other people are going through.
Mm-hmm. It's so true.
Yep. There's no way to measure this, but do you think you appreciate the kids more?
Oh, absolutely.
After going through what you did?
Absolutely. Yeah. And we've told them. I mean, our story, they know their story to some degree, like they care, right?
Like we're here.
Yeah. But I think in us telling them that, we wanted them to know that we chose them the same kind of way if we had adopted them, in some ways. Yeah. It's very similar to adopting. We chose you. We didn't.
We could have given up and not had kids. We kept battling.
A lot of things.
We went through a lot to make sure you're here.
Exactly. And so, know that our love comes not only from it's just, there's a lot to it. It's complicated, but it's deep love, because we made and not just us, our family, our friends, a lot of people made a very concerted effort and prayer and whatever else it came, to make sure that they were here and loved, and that they knew they were loved. And I think that we see the fruit of that, and we're grateful. Very grateful. Yeah, not just for them, but for that process too. Yeah. Crazy. Very crazy. And now we get to be grandparents. And we're super excited about that too. Because everybody says, and see, I also thought, people would say, oh, wait till you're a grandparent. And I thought, wait, I love being a parent. That's a pretty special thing. But now that we're
are you dialing in? Now you're like, oh, I could. And you're not even a grandparent yet, but you're already seeing that grandparent's going to be better than being a parent?
Well,
I think somebody recently explained it to me like this, and I think this is where I agree with it. You get to see your kids because they probably will look something like your kids. You get to see your kids in your grandchildren again and see them being parents. So I'm hoping that it is everything everybody talks about, but even if it's not, I feel like it's going to be, right? We just spent 6 weeks with them, and it was pretty beautiful, right? In a weird way, because I don't know that we can imagine it. When they're babies, you don't imagine this part of it. And I'm not even sure that there's a prep that comes for it, right? Maybe there's books, but I haven't read them.
Maybe you should write it.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the
You could
stages.
write the book on that.
I don't know. Again, I just want to experience it. I'm excited. Really excited. For them, too.
Yeah.
But
It's all right then. It's all right if you think you're getting more joy out of it than them. That's fine.
yeah.
You've given up a lot. You can say I haven't done a lot to raise them to the point that they're at,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There's
absolutely.
no problem in you getting joy out of something.
Yeah. But I was thinking of something else, Doug. Dinners. I think this is how people get to know each other. Dinner. Over the table.
Really?
Yeah. Absolutely. We've had a lot of people at our dinner table. And I think that it's a good way.
I've been at your dinner table.
Yeah. I think it's a great way to get to know people. I'd like to see, I think it happens here. I think it happens here more than we know about, right? Whether it's with family or friends, but that conversation you have over the dinner table is amazing. You never know what you're going to learn about somebody. Never know. And
You know another way to get to know people?
fish.
Start a podcast.
Oh.
Ask them a bunch of questions.
Well, that works too.
It seems to
And
be
you
working.
do have.
I've learned a lot about people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and also you've set aside time.
Yeah.
How great that you've set aside time to spend with people. That's it, really. I mean, it doesn't matter whether you're having coffee or a podcast. You're setting aside time for people. And I think that means a lot.
Yeah.
It does.
It's a good way to connect.
Yeah. Yeah. And learn.
Hopefully. I hope I never stop learning.
Me neither.
That's kind of one of my goals.
Right?
Keep learning.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So any last words of wisdom for us, Shannon?
I think I'm looking over here. I think
You've tapped the well?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate all that you have shared with us.
Well, yeah.
I really do. I know you were hesitant about doing this.
Yeah.
But I think talking about death, talking about hospice, talking about a lot of things we were talking about, grief and things, I think more people need to have those conversations. And maybe if they hear us talking about it, maybe that will get some people to either reach out to hospice, reach out to their friends or neighbors.
Yeah. Because in the end, it's not just a good death that we want. It's a good life until we die. Yeah. We want to thrive.
We want to thrive till the end.
And there are ways to, I think having people walk alongside of us is part of the way that we can do that.
Well, I'm glad that all these ladies in town talked Sam into emailing you and that you responded.
Yes.
And came back to join our community.
Yeah.
It's been great having you here.
Yeah. Thanks, Doug.
So thank you, Shannon.
Yeah.